Chapter 26, Outbreaks. In a big battle, Feng Xiai and the others went to rest and bandage their wounds. They also took the opportunity to find weapons for Du Ji, leaving Du Ji and Wang San alone. At this point, there was no longer any meaning in monitoring them. Wang San changed into dry clothes and picked up a pastry from the table. He swallowed a few bites and licked his lips in delight. He asked, "Are we really going to assassinate Qiu Yuan Lang?" "Of course," Du Ji nodded. "You grow, I grow. Why not? It's better to eliminate the hidden dangers than to be chased around by others. Do you know that if the assassination fails, we are very likely to be eliminated? This is exactly the result Feng Zhong wants to see." Wang San continued to stuff food into his mouth, devouring it like a wolf. All his actions matched the characteristics of a common academy student as described by Feng Zhu. Having eaten a lot of synthetic food, they instinctively craved the food in the simulation field. Perhaps realizing that tonight was his last time in the simulation field, he no longer pretended and tried to let his taste buds enjoy the delicious food. "Eliminated? What are you thinking?" Du Ji glanced at him and chuckled. "Won't we join if we can't beat them? We are both heavenly demons, and we don't have any faction labels. Qiu Yuan Lang won't give up on us, who are obviously more useful than one or two hall masters who died. Don't worry, we won't die." Wang San's hand holding the pastry froze in mid-air. After a while, he said, "Is your keyword really maintenance?" "Absolutely," Du Ji smiled. "You betrayed the Feng family. Aren't you afraid of losing attributes?" Wang San couldn't help but ask. "I've seen your speed when killing people. Your attributes should have already increased significantly. Why do you always think we will lose?" Du Ji said. "Don't you have confidence in yourself?" "What do you mean I don't have confidence in myself? It's simply impossible to win, okay?" Wang San silently complained in his heart, suppressing the anger stirred up by Du Ji. He asked, "What if?" "It won't drop much," Du Ji said. "If we really reach that point, I will use myself as a bargaining chip to request Qiu Yuan Lang to spare the Feng family. This way, I can openly join the Iron Palm Gang and protect the safety of the Feng family. Sacrificing oneself for justice is the ultimate form of maintenance. Maybe the Feng family will thank me then." "Damn!" Wang San opened his mouth and took a long time to spit out this word. There were no other words to describe his current mood. "So, cooperate with me wholeheartedly. Regardless of winning or losing, we won't lose out." Du Ji pretended not to hear Wang San's praise and smiled. At this moment, Wang San finally understood how Feng Xiai felt when he was persuaded back then. He could feel the loopholes everywhere in Feng Qi's plan, but he couldn't find any flaws in his plan. Moreover, whether it succeeded or not, it would benefit everyone, and even his attributes didn't drop. This is simply ridiculous. Taking a deep breath and calming his turbulent emotions, Wang San gave a thumbs up to Du Ji. "Brother, you are a true brother. To use maintenance to this extent, you are the first." Du Ji smiled and didn't say anything. He had two keywords, but most of the time, he couldn't distinguish whether his actions were for maintenance or betrayal. He only knew that his attributes were constantly growing, and that was enough. Wang San asked, "Brother Qi, what about Feng Zhong? What do you plan to do with him?" "I don't know where he is. Let's deal with it when we encounter him. He's just a small character who hides his head and shows his tail. He won't make much of an impact," Du Ji said. "Saner, when doing things, you need to focus and not think about irrelevant things. Your energy is being wasted. But have you ever thought that if he fails to eliminate us this time and even offends us, he will definitely sabotage us from behind to prevent us from retaliating? The Iron Palm Gang that came today may be the Beggars sect tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow it may be Taishan sect." Wang San couldn't stand Du Ji's indifferent attitude. After all, he was going to lose attributes anyway, so he had to say everything. "I hope he has that ability." Du Ji laughed. "If he can single-handedly cause chaos in the martial world and I can then quell the war and maintain peace in the martial world, I can't even imagine how much I will grow." "Who gave you such confidence? Are all the students from the elite academy this arrogant?" Wang San kept his words in his heart, struggling for a while before saying, "You released the news about the heavenly demons through the Feng family to create chaos in the martial world, and then maintain it from within. If I had known the rules of the simulation field, I would never have done it." Du Ji remembered the flawed heavenly demon plan that forced him to be opposed to all players, and his face slightly flushed. But he would never admit to such childish behavior. So, he nodded, that's about right. Feng Zhong was an accident, but it was also within my expectations. Wang San fell into silence. He looked at Du Ji and said seriously, okay, I surrender. I'll follow you for real this time. Du Ji smiled and asked, since it's for real, tell me what skill you awakened again? Partners need to be honest with each other in order to maximize each other's abilities. Wang San was shocked. How did you know? Du Ji pointed to his eyes and then his head, smiling. I saw your little movements and micro-expressions at that time. Wang San was completely convinced. After pausing for a moment, he said, sickly adorable outburst, when someone I like is hurt, I can unleash 10 times the attack power. Great skill. Du Ji's eyes lit up. It's not very useful for now. My personal attributes are too low. After talking to you for so long, they have decreased a lot. Even if I unleash 10 times the attack power, it's not that powerful. Wang San shook his head and habitually stuffed a piece of pastry into his mouth. Just like how you want to maintain peace in the entire martial world, I'm afraid my sickly adorable nature will affect more people before my attributes can grow exponentially. After tonight, your reputation should spread throughout the Iron Palm Gang, Du Ji said. Perhaps. Wang San replied with a frown, but my sickly adorable persona isn't as protective as yours, which makes people lower their guard and want to recruit you. When my reputation spreads, they'll realize how terrifying I am, and more people will want to eliminate me to prevent future trouble. Just like earlier, there were 2 heavenly demons on the scene, and the Hall Master of the Iron Palm Gang prioritized getting rid of me, not you. Feng Shi was even willing to sacrifice himself for you. My keywords will never receive such treatment. Du Ji glanced at Wang San, patted him on the shoulder with a smile, and comforted, don't worry, with my strong support protecting you, no one can take you down. I hope so. Wang San sighed, thinking to himself, if it weren't for my exposure, if I had any other options, only a fool would want to mess around with you. He paused, then asked, Brother 7, you said earlier that cooperation requires honesty, but I still don't know what your skill is. If I get eliminated today, I can't die in confusion, can I? I already told you, it's sacrifice for justice. Du Ji observed Wang San's expression, subtly altering the description of his advanced skill, the damage I suffer while protecting others will be doubled in recovery. Wang San's expression didn't change, but he seemed relieved, no wonder you recover so quickly after getting injured. This advanced skill perfectly matches your keywords. If used well, it's like having an immortal body. No wonder you dare to be so reckless. Indeed. Advanced skills are not fixed, but randomly generated based on a person's actions. It's a very humanized game, Du Ji thought, feeling reassured. He sighed, that being said, it still hurts. If I could recover that quickly, I'd be willing to endure the pain too. Wang San chuckled, then continued to ask, Bro, you're so powerful, you must have awakened a second skill, right? Du Ji shook his head, no. I've killed so many people, but I haven't awakened a second skill. I can't find the trigger. Protecting others and killing are conflicting actions. It would be problematic if you could awaken a new skill from both. Wang San didn't doubt him, instead offering Du Ji advice, if you want to awaken a second skill, you should focus on protection itself. Chapter 27, Betrayal. Xingyu Tower is an inn, and Du Ji and the others live in the backyard, which is a distance away from the front inn. However, their commotion was too loud, and the guests in the inn were afraid of being implicated, so they escaped to the streets one by one. In the world of martial arts, faction fights are common, but when too many people escape, it will inevitably attract the attention of those who are interested. Speed is of the essence. Therefore, Feng Shi and the others didn't take much time to rest. They only treated their wounds, changed into night clothes, and then asked Du Ji and Wang San to hurry to the Iron Palm Gang's base. Feng Yunji's injuries were not serious, but his combat effectiveness was greatly reduced in the presence of Wang San. Carrying him would be a burden, so Feng Shi sent him back to the Feng family to report the situation. Du Ji and Wang San also changed into night clothes. Although the Feng family was not large in size, it was a true martial arts family. Xingyu Tower, as their stronghold, naturally had no shortage of weapons, but they didn't have any divine weapons. Du Ji chose 2 relatively high-quality steel longswords and filled his knife pouch with throwing knives. Wang San chose a willow leaf blade. For beginners who were not skilled in martial arts, a blade was obviously more useful than a sword. The reason Du Ji chose a sword was that stabbing was easier and faster than slashing. Feng Xiai and his two disciples didn't talk much along the way. They had a serious expression on their faces, giving off a heroic feeling as if the wind was blowing and the water was cold. Du Ji and Wang San, who had already planned their escape route, felt like they were going on vacation. Especially Du Ji, who had seen many scenes of night battles in movies and TV shows. He had long been excited to have the opportunity to participate personally. The Iron Palm Gang was a villa outside Liuyang City, not far from the pier. It was surrounded by mountains and water. When encountering strong enemies, they could escape through the waterway in the front or directly go up the mountain to avoid them. It was an excellent feng shui location. Under the signboard with the three powerful characters Iron Palm Gang written on it, the Crimson Gate was wide open. 5 or 6 guards stood outside the gate, holding knives and chatting casually. Occasionally, someone would yawn, showing a rather indifferent attitude. This was normal. Liuyang City was the base of the Iron Palm Gang. They were always the ones bullying others, and unless there were special circumstances, no one would come to attack them just because they were bored. Moreover, there hadn't been any major incidents in the martial world for more than 10 years. If a master really came to seek revenge, they would be able to fly over the walls and roofs. No one would enter through the main gate. In the end, they were just decorations. Usually, even the main gate was closed, but tonight, the Long Hall had gone out on a mission and deliberately left the gate open for them. However, the guards would never have expected that a few people who didn't follow the usual path would come tonight. Mr. Qi, are we going to attack through the main gate? The night was cold, and Feng Xiai's forehead was sweating. He looked at Du Ji with a hint of annoyance in his eyes, which shouldn't have been shown by someone his age. When Du Ji mentioned entering through the main gate, he suddenly felt like a fool. How could Feng Qi's stupid plan succeed? Why did he follow him to sneak attack the Iron Palm Gang? 5 people? 3 of them were injured, and they were planning a frontal assault. Even a 5-year-old child wouldn't come up with such an idea. Then what? Du Ji looked at Feng Xiai with a disdainful look in his eyes. You didn't tell me that the courtyard wall of the Iron Palm Gang is over 4 meters high. Feng Xiai stuttered, unable to say a word. It was really no wonder Feng Qi. He was the heavenly demon and had just arrived in this world. He didn't know what the Iron Palm Gang looked like. But at that time, he was also dumbfounded. How could he consider everything so thoroughly in a moment? Wang San's mouth twitched, struggling to hold back his laughter. Your lightness skill is not good enough to carry a person and jump over a 4-meter wall. Du Ji looked at Feng Xiai with contempt, secretly determined to cultivate his internal energy and find a good lightness skill for himself. Throughout history, heroes have always been high and mighty. Who would climb a ladder after climbing over a wall? Mr. Qi, if it's not possible, let's go back to the Feng family and discuss it in the long term. Feng Xiai looked at the restless Du Ji and advised, with just the 5 of us, a frontal assault is no different from seeking death. What's wrong with sacrificing our lives for the Feng family? Since we're here, we might as well give it a try. What if we succeed? Du Ji took a deep breath, drew out his long sword with one hand, and took out 3 throwing knives with the other. San, lure them. Mr. Qi, please don't. Feng Xiai hurriedly tried to dissuade him, but it was too late. My dearest brothers, are you waiting for someone? Are you feeling cold? While others are sleeping, you're still on duty here. I feel so sorry for you. With no future in the Feng family, Wang San had long prepared to surrender. His gentle voice quickly resounded in the night. The guards on duty immediately became flustered. They drew their knives, looked around, and searched for the source of the voice, their faces turning pale. Who is playing tricks there? Come out. It's me. Wang San let out a strange cackle, slowly emerging from the shadows of the trees. He was dressed in black, his hair disheveled, his face smeared with blood. In his hand, he held a long knife, also stained with blood. His expression was blank. My little darlings, let's play a game. I'll chase, you'll run. If I catch you, Big Brother will take good care of you. Wang San took 1 step forward. The guards took 1 step back. As Wang San spoke more and more, fear finally overcame their remaining courage. A ghost! A ghost! With a few shrill screams, they dropped their knives in panic and turned to run. The moment they turned, Du Ji, with his long sword, had already rushed out like a released rabbit. He was like a black lightning in the night. In the blink of an eye, he had reached behind them, swiftly and decisively reaping their lives. Watching Du Ji and Wang San really rush out to attack the front gate, Feng Xiai's mind went blank. After a moment, he closed his eyes in despair. It's over. Second Master, what should we do? One of the direct disciples was at a loss. Go, the Feng family's disaster can't be blocked by two outsiders. Feng Xiai gave a bitter smile, gripping his knife tightly, ready to follow them out. But after taking 2 steps, he realized that the 2 disciples behind him hadn't followed. He frowned. What are you doing? We don't want to die. One of them hesitated for a moment, then said awkwardly, Second Master, Feng Qi is a madman. His injuries heal quickly, but we can't. For the Feng family, assassinating Chu Yuanlang is one thing, but charging in like this is just suicide. Let's retreat, Second Master. If we die like this, it's meaningless. Another person said, haven't you figured it out yet? All the troubles of the Feng family are brought by the heavenly demon. If we continue to entangle with them, the disaster will only get worse. Let's abandon them and rush back to the Feng family now, we still have time. Feng Xiai looked at Du Ji, who was fighting in front, and then at the 2 people behind him, his eyes showing struggle. If we withdraw now, everything we've done before will be in vain. Feng Qi is getting faster and faster, which proves that he has grown a lot. And, we have one more person, Wang San. Second Master, don't be confused. Think about the third young master. Even if they are powerful. Look at Wang San again, does the Feng family really want to get involved with such people? One of them pointed ahead, his eyes filled with horror. They are the demon heads. Cut our losses, Second Master. We can't go wrong anymore. If we continue like this, the Feng family will be beyond redemption. Feng Xiai turned around and saw a scene that made his hair stand on end. Wang San had cut off the hand of a guard killed by Feng Qi, holding it in his hand. He was wiping the blood off it, saying, Good boy, don't be afraid. I've dirted your hand. Let me wipe it for you. Once it's clean, we can hold hands. Feng Xiai's pupils suddenly contracted. At this moment, he finally woke up. After one last look at Du Ji, Feng Xiai called to his 2 disciples, Let's go. Chapter 28, Who Lost to Whom? In the quiet night, Du Ji's keen senses were heightened, and the conversation between Feng Xiai and the other 2 could be heard clearly in his ears. Damn it! He hadn't betrayed them yet, but these guys actually betrayed him first. Who was he sacrificing himself for? They didn't care about the rules of the martial world. Of course, Du Ji understood them. It seemed like a fantasy for 5 people to attack a gang with numerous experts. It was normal for them to not want to make meaningless sacrifices. But Du Ji also had his own difficulties. His keywords were maintenance and betrayal. Once he withdrew from the Feng family, not only would he fail to maintain the interests of the Feng family, but he would also lose the opportunity to betray them. He didn't know how his attributes would change. If they turned hostile again in the future, he would even have trouble protecting himself. After all, regardless of whether Feng Zhong intervened or not, someone in the Feng residence would definitely blame him for this matter. Feng Shiren, that old fox, could sell him to the Iron Palm gang, jeopardizing the safety of the Feng family. Right or wrong, this was human nature. Returning to the Feng family would mean losing everything. Therefore, even if they had to forcefully charge at the Iron Palm gang's gate, he had to do it. Only in this way could he have control over the situation. He could maintain or betray as he pleased, maximizing his interests. After being bound by the keywords, the normal way of thinking no longer suited them. Just like Wang San, did he really want to keep a dead person's hand as a collection? He was forced to. Feng Xiai and the other 2 couldn't leave either. Not to mention that Feng Xiai was the main combat force. If they left, who would he maintain and betray? Feng Er, I didn't expect you to be a coward who values his own life. You've already killed a hall master of the Iron Palm gang. If you don't kill Chu Yuanlang, are you waiting for the Feng family to be annihilated by him? Du Ji stood in front of the body of the last guard, shouting with a face full of grief and indignation. Escape, where can you escape to? You killed a hall master of the Iron Palm gang. The surroundings fell silent. The screams of the guards at the door had already alarmed the gang members inside the courtyard. With Du Ji's shout, the entire Iron Palm gang was thrown into chaos. Feng Xiai's mind buzzed, freezing in place. He felt dizzy and his eyes instantly turned red. He hysterically shouted, "Feng Qi, Feng Er, you can't make one mistake after another." Du Ji interrupted Feng Xiai's words and continued to shout, "That's right, the two of us outsiders can risk our lives and help you delay the Iron Palm gang, but what about the Feng family? If you flee at this critical moment, betraying your friends for your own survival, the reputation of the Feng family will be ruined. The family can be rebuilt if lost, but once the reputation is lost, the backbone of a warrior is broken. The head can be cut off, blood can flow, but the reputation must not be lost. Feng Er, we must use our blood and lives to maintain the reputation of the Feng family." Damn it! Maintain the reputation of the Feng family? This was really pushing Feng Xiai into a corner. Too ruthless. Looking at Du Ji, who was filled with righteous indignation, Wang San was completely stunned. He understood why Feng Qi did this, but to make such a correct decision in such a short time, his mind was too sharp. He couldn't help but admire him. Maintenance was forcefully turned into an attacking skill. In this instant, Wang San realized the true meaning of character development. A door slowly opened in his mind, and he seemed to see a brand new world. Forceful maintenance, forceful betrayal. Du Ji's attributes rose steadily. Looking at Feng Xiai, who had stopped in his tracks, his heart blossomed with joy. The people of the Iron Palm gang had already been alerted, and Feng Xiai couldn't escape anymore. If he dared to bring the Iron Palm gang back with him, it meant that he wanted the Feng family to be wiped out even faster. Inside the Iron Palm gang, torches were lit. In the blink of an eye, the courtyard was brightly lit. Over 200 gang members holding knives and swords stared fiercely at Du Ji and the other two outside the door, their eyes shooting flames. To barge in the middle of the night and be so arrogant, if they didn't wipe them out, where would the face of the Iron Palm gang go? Even a clay figure had some fire in it, let alone the morning temper. And judging from that guy's words, he had killed a hall master of the Iron Palm gang and came to assassinate the gang leader, eliminating future troubles. He really had the guts to treat the Iron Palm gang as nothing? I didn't expect the small Feng family to have a few courageous men. Chu admires you. With a thunderous voice, an old man in his 50s with white hair stepped forward and arrived at the door. He stood there, looking at Du Ji and the other two, exuding an imposing aura. "Just the two of you want to kill me? And Feng Xiai, Feng Er." Du Ji straightened his back and reported Feng Xiai's name. In the small forest, Feng Xiai's eyes were about to spew blood. This bastard, he was indeed a demon head. He didn't come to maintain the Feng family, but to destroy the foundation of the Feng family. Du Ji looked at Feng Xiai who hadn't come out, then at Chu Yuanlang and the people behind him, and chuckled lightly, saying, "Hall Master Chu, your Iron Palm gang attacked Xingyu Tower unprovokedly at night. You allow yourselves to kill, but don't allow us to fight back? The chivalry of the martial world, the spirit of the martial arts, is being destroyed by you guys who do whatever you want because of your strong fists. Today, the Feng family will take the lead to correct this unhealthy trend in the martial world, using iron and blood to protect the chivalry of the martial world. Protect the chivalry of the martial world." Chu Yuanlang waited for Du Ji to finish speaking, then laughed, looking at him as if he were looking at an idiot. His face suddenly turned cold. "Did you guys kill Peng Chong?" The number of people behind Chu Yuanlang was increasing, but Du Ji was not afraid at all, and retorted, "Those who kill will be killed. Hall Master Chu, don't listen to the nonsense of the demon." Feng Xiai shouted, walking out from the shadows. He glared at Du Ji, then knelt down from a distance. "Hall Master Chu, the Feng family was bewitched by the demon, which led us to do such stupid things. Otherwise, even if the Feng family had 10 times the courage, we wouldn't dare to be enemies with the Iron Palm gang. I'm no match for Hall Master Peng, it was these two who used evil means to harm Hall Master Peng." Second Master Feng. Du Ji looked at Feng Xiai in surprise. "Shut up!" Feng Xiai roared, "You thief, if it weren't for your bewitching words, how could the Feng family have fallen to this point? If I had known this, I should have killed you, the demon head, when you possessed the body." Demon head? Chu Yuanlang looked at Du Ji with interest. "Yes, gang leader, these two are the heavenly demons you are looking for." Feng Xiai said, "The heavenly demon is different from ordinary people. They need to act according to their attributes to grow. Feng Qi attribute is protection. He eloquently defends the interests of the Feng family, using the Feng family to grow, but brings disaster to the Feng family. Gang leader, from now on, the Feng family will sever all ties with him. Without the protection of the Feng family, his strength will definitely decrease greatly. Gang leader, you can capture him. Whether to kill or to keep, it has nothing to do with the Feng family. It was Feng Xiai who was bewitched. I am willing to use my life to compensate for Hall Master Peng's life, but I beg the gang leader to spare the old and young of the Feng family. They are innocent, they don't know anything. Bang! 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 Feng Xiai's head hit the ground heavily, and his forehead was stained red in a moment. The members of the Iron Palm gang were in an uproar, all their eyes focused on Du Ji and his companion, and discussions arose. Heavenly Demon? Chu Yuanlang didn't pay attention to Feng Xiai, but looked at Du Ji with interest, then glanced at Wang San who was holding his broken hand in fascination, and muttered, so there really are heavenly demons in this world. He said you grow by attributes, and your attribute is protection, so you want to protect the chivalry of the martial world. Yes. Du Ji nodded. When Feng Xiai said he would sever ties with him, he finally understood what Wang San meant by attribute reduction. His attributes had dropped by about a third. It seemed that this should be considered a failure to protect. However, his attributes didn't drop to the bottom, probably because he successfully betrayed the Feng family and was still protecting the peace of the martial world. He looked at Chu Yuanlang. If his action to protect the peace of the martial world failed again this time, his attributes might drop further. However, although the Feng family had given up on him, Du Ji still decided to squeeze the last bit of benefit from them. He looked at Feng Xiai sadly, Second Master Feng, even though you have given up on me, my principles will not change. I will protect for a day, and for a lifetime. This is what I said, and I will carry it out to the end. With that, he turned to Chu Yuanlang, placing his sword against his own neck. Hall Master Chu, I am willing to join the Iron Palm gang and let the gang leader dispose of me as he wishes. I only ask that you spare the old and young of the Feng family, to fulfill my protective feelings. Otherwise, I will die here, and all you will get is a worthless heavenly demon corpse. Feng Xiai was shocked and looked up at Du Ji. The hatred in his heart disappeared in an instant. At this moment, he felt that he might have really made a mistake. Chu Yuanlang looked at Du Ji in surprise. He betrayed you, and you still want to protect him. Du Ji said, protect for a day, protect for a lifetime, this is my mission. Good, I accept. Chu Yuanlang looked at Du Ji with admiration, clapping his hands, those fools don't recognize a gem. From now on, you will protect my Iron Palm gang, and my Iron Palm gang can also protect you. Before Chu Yuanlang finished speaking, Du Ji's dropping attributes suddenly rose back up, even more than before. Chapter 29, Du Ji's New World. Du Ji's expression was somewhat complicated, seeming disappointed yet relieved. He chuckled self-mockingly, took the sword off his neck, and held the hilt as he bowed to Chu Yuanlang. Thank you, gang leader. Good, good. Follow me inside and tell me about the heavenly demon. Chu Yuanlang said. I will follow your orders, gang leader. Du Ji sighed and turned to Feng Xiai, acting out the final scene, second in command. From today onwards, Feng Qi and the Feng family's grievances are settled. Second in command, you may leave. Feng Xiai looked at Feng Qi, stood up in a daze, and bowed to Du Ji. Mr. Qi, the Feng family has wronged you. In that instant, his heart felt empty, as if he had lost something important. Why? Why did things turn out like this? Was he wrong? He wasn't wrong. He had always wholeheartedly considered the future of the Feng family. Was Feng Qi wrong? He wasn't wrong either. Everything he did was to protect the interests of the Feng family, even at the cost of his own life. He had fulfilled his promise to protect them. But why did it turn out like this? Feng Zhong. It was Feng Zhong. It was all his fault. If it weren't for him meddling, Du Ji would still belong to the Feng family, and their future would still be bright. Having found the reason, Feng Xiai's eyes turned red in an instant. Unforgivable. When he returned, he would mobilize the entire Feng family's power and tear Feng Zhong into pieces. He wouldn't be satisfied until he avenged his hatred. Chu Yuanlang watched Du Ji and Feng Xiai bid farewell in silence. When Du Ji turned his back, a hint of indifference flashed in his eyes. Du Ji accurately caught this look from the corner of his eye and sighed inwardly. The person who could control a gang and send someone to kill in Xingyu Tower based on a piece of information was not someone easy to get along with. He feared that he would have to undergo some questioning when he entered the Iron Palm gang. This annoying and endless questioning. The growth method of the keywords was too passive. He had to find a way to break through. When Du Ji turned back around, his face was relaxed. He sheathed his sword and said, "Gang leader Chiu, I have no more ties with the Feng family. From now on, I will do my best to support you, gang leader, and the Iron Palm gang." "Very well." Chu Yuanlang nodded, stepped aside, and gestured with his hand, "Mr. Qi, please. After you, gang leader." Du Ji slightly turned to the side and said seriously, "My attribute is support, and I will do my best to support the authority of the gang leader. I dare not overstep." Chu Yuanlang was momentarily stunned, then laughed heartily and turned around first, "All right, follow me." At the moment he turned around, Du Ji immediately launched a surprise attack from behind, his dagger sticking close to Chu Yuanlang's back. Pew pew pew. The throwing knives that had been held in his palm continuously stabbed Chu Yuanlang's lower back. Ah! A miserable scream. Chu Yuanlang practiced iron palm, not iron cloth shirt. He never expected Du Ji to attack at this moment, and he never expected the attack to be so fast. By the time he reacted, he had already been stabbed several times in the back. His eyes were bloodshot as he lunged forward, trying to shake off Du Ji who was clinging to his back. But Du Ji didn't give him a chance. As Chu Yuanlang lunged forward, Du Ji extended his arm from the front and grabbed Chu Yuanlang's neck from behind, hanging onto him like a koala. The killing power of throwing knives was no less than that of a long sword. Apart from the first two deep stabs, the subsequent stabs only pierced Chu Yuanlang's muscles, as he had tightened his muscles with internal energy. Although they pierced his body, they weren't deep. But the previous two stabs had already dealt him a heavy blow. Even though he used his strength, he couldn't shake off Du Ji who was clinging to his neck. Roaring, he reached out to grab Du Ji's arm that was holding his neck. With a crisp sound, he forcefully broke Du Ji's forearm, causing blood and flesh to splatter. Enduring the pain, Du Ji still held onto his neck. The throwing knife in his left hand danced in a blur on Chu Yuanlang's left lower back, and in the blink of an eye, it stabbed a row of holes, with blood gushing out. As he stabbed, Du Ji said, "The Iron Palm gang controls the transportation, robs homes, kills people for profit, and extorts protection money. I, Feng Qi, a good man, how can I support such a despicable gang? Today, I am willing to sacrifice my life to eliminate evil, uphold the righteousness of the martial world, and protect the common people." After Feng Qi created the heavenly demon theory, he did indeed experience significant growth. However, his attribute was also restricted by the Feng family. Even Feng Qi, after publicly declaring his separation from him, weakened his attribute. This should be related to Feng Xi's identity and the current situation of the Feng family. Du Ji didn't know the judgment mechanism of the simulation field, but if his own fate could be easily influenced by someone else's decision, then the path he was taking was wrong. The Feng family was wrong, and so was the Iron Palm gang. Even if he could bind himself to Chu Yuanlang with his eloquence and interests, so what? In the future, if a situation similar to Feng Zhong's occurred, he believed that Chu Yuanlang would also abandon him without hesitation, just like Feng Xi. He didn't intend to make the same mistake again. Since maintaining a group would lead to uncontrollable fate, he would take control of his own destiny. He would no longer support a specific family or gang, but a broader idea or belief. This path might be more difficult, but as long as he succeeded, no one would be able to control his fate anymore. After Du Ji passionately shouted these words, his broken arm that was grabbed by Chu Yuanlang quickly healed, and his personal attribute experienced a leap in growth. After all, he had taken practical action to uphold the righteousness of the martial world and successfully betrayed Chu Yuanlang who had just taken him in. Double growth, double happiness. What the fuck? What's going on? Wang San was once again stunned. Wasn't the plan to seize the opportunity to join the Iron Palm gang? What on earth was happening now? Are you not satisfied until you've driven yourself into a corner? Feng Xi had already left, but upon witnessing this scene, he froze on the spot, watching the blood-soaked Chu Yuanlang and Feng Qi, who was firmly clung to his back, ceaselessly pounding him. He couldn't stop trembling. He was serious. Feng Qi was serious. His plan was not a joke. He could really assassinate Chu Yuanlang. He had clearly joined the more powerful Iron Palm gang, but when Chu Yuanlang let his guard down, he still chose to assassinate him. It was clear that he knew, even if he joined the Iron Palm gang, Chu Yuanlang would definitely retaliate against the Feng family afterwards. Only by killing him could the Feng family truly be safe. Feng Qi did not betray the Feng family. Even before the assassination of Chu Yuanlang, he had tried his best to distance himself and the Feng family, framing the assassination as an act of upholding the righteousness of the martial arts world. He took all the blame upon himself. Oh, heavens! What had he done? He had actually betrayed him before Du Ji decided to sacrifice himself to assassinate Chu Yuanlang. At that time, Feng Qi's heart must have been completely shattered. Since becoming an adult, Feng Qi had not shed a tear, but at this moment, his tears involuntarily flowed down. He wished he could slap himself hard to atone for his sins. He was so foolish, he was the sinner of the family. To protect for a day is to protect for a lifetime. After Feng Qi was betrayed by him, the words he said about sacrificing himself for righteousness once again rushed into Feng Qi's mind. He clenched his fists and subconsciously stepped forward to assist Du Ji, but he stopped in his tracks the moment he took a step. Before the assassination of Chu Yuanlang, he had said that he had settled his grudges with the Feng family and told him to return to the Feng family. Return? This was a hint for him. Knowing that he was bound to die, he didn't want him to make a pointless sacrifice, but to do his best to preserve the living forces of the Feng family. Such righteousness! After piecing together all the causes and effects, Feng Qi didn't bother with the two morally corrupt direct disciples in the woods. He resolutely dashed into the night, running and shedding tears. Feng Qi, wait, if you don't die today, the entire Feng family will surely honor you as our respected one. Chapter 30, Hold the gang leader to protect justice. No one paid attention to the fleeing Feng Qi. The gang leader was assassinated, and the Iron Palm gang members were in chaos, rushing towards them. Stop! Stop! Save the gang leader! In a moment, Du Ji was surrounded by the Iron Palm gang. He no longer stabbed Chu Yuanlang's lower back, but held a small flying knife against the back of his neck. The tip of the knife exerted a slight force, piercing the skin. Gang leader Chu, make them stop. Don't move! Chu Yuanlang gasped and shouted. Except for the first two stabs, the rest were not deep, but Du Ji stabbed him multiple times. No matter how strong his internal energy was, getting stabbed still hurt, and bleeding too much made him dizzy. He felt like his lower back was being pierced like a sieve. Moreover, he could feel Du Ji's arm around his neck getting stronger and stronger. If they continued like this, even if he wasn't stabbed to death, he would suffocate to death. Chu Yuanlang didn't really believe that Feng Qi was a heavenly demon who possessed someone's body, but now he believed it. He knew how strong his palm strength was, and he knew that Feng Qi's arm had been broken into several pieces by him. It would take 100 days to recover from such injuries. However, in just an instant, Feng Qi's arm had already returned to its original state, and his strength had increased even more. Humans could never have such a recovery ability. He was indeed a heavenly demon. The two continued to struggle, and the one who would die first would undoubtedly be him. Let go of the gang leader, or I'll make sure you have no burial place. One hall master held a long knife and stared at Du Ji, shouting sternly. Another hall master captured Wang San and held a long sword against his neck, threatening, let go of the gang leader, or I'll kill your companion first. Wang San still held the severed hand he had picked up earlier, obsessively caressing it, as if unaware of his current situation. Occasionally, he would look up at Feng Qi with a resentful gaze, but he remained silent. With the knife already against his neck, he didn't dare to speak. If the other party panicked and cut his throat, who would he reason with? Threatening me with him won't work. For the sake of the righteousness of the martial world, anyone can be sacrificed. Feng Qi can be sacrificed, and of course, Wang San can be too. Madness flickered in Du Ji's eyes. If I, Feng Qi, die, there will naturally be thousands of Feng Qis standing up and continuing to fight against you. Do you think I won't dare to kill him if you say that? Let go of the gang leader. The hall master pressed the long sword down, leaving a blood mark on Wang San's neck. But as Wang San caressed the severed hand, the blood mark slowly healed. Even so, Wang San still trembled subconsciously. Let go of him, and I'll let him go. The hall master urged anxiously. Do villains in movies and TV shows threaten the good guys with hostages? He wouldn't fall for that. Kill him. Du Ji chuckled lightly. If you have accurate information, you should know that I didn't know him a day ago. Moreover, the heavenly demons compete with each other and are naturally enemies. If you kill him, it won't cause me any loss. That person. Did you hear that? I already said that capturing me wouldn't work. Wang San said softly. Hanzhou, let him go. Chu Yuanlang glanced at him and shouted loudly. Hall leader. Hanzhou, the hall master, hesitated for a moment and didn't move. Let him go. I'm not dead yet. Are my words useless now? Chu Yuanlang said sternly. Yes, hall leader. Hanzhou's expression darkened, reluctantly releasing Wang San. Wang San glanced at him disdainfully, holding his collection of severed hands, and confidently stood beside Du Ji. Mr. Qi methods are indeed extraordinary. Chu Yuanlang stabilized his emotions. Mr. Qi didn't kill me immediately, probably considering his own future. How about this, if you let me go, I will let you all leave. The events of tonight will be forgotten, how about it? If we continue like this, if I die, you may never be able to leave the Iron Palm Gang. Gang leader Chu, Feng Qi killed you to uphold righteousness in the martial world. Du Ji insisted. In this martial world, who dares to claim to be clean among the 5 sects and 3 gates? How can there be such a high position without seizing power and wealth? If you kill me, will the martial world become clean? Chu Yuanlang sneered, killing me won't make the martial world's atmosphere clean, right? He gasped a few times. Mr. Qi, you have supernatural powers, and I have martial strength. If we cooperate, we can control the Iron Palm Gang together and enjoy wealth and glory. Isn't that beautiful? Mr. Qi is a wise person. If you really cared about martial righteousness, you would have killed me long ago. There's no need to pretend and use me as a hostage. Gang leader Chu, I can't reverse the corrupt atmosphere in this martial world with my own strength. That's why I didn't kill the gang leader. Du Ji suddenly laughed. He looked at the 2 hall masters in front of him and the gang members who were watching closely and said, Gang leader, there are hundreds and thousands of heavenly demons infiltrating the mortal world. Heavenly demons can cause chaos in the martial world for their own interests at any time. Whenever I think about this happening, I feel distressed. So, not only do I want to uphold the righteousness of the martial world, but I also want to calm the upcoming turmoil and maintain peace in the martial world. Gang leader Chu, my intention is to ask for your help, to use the power of the Iron Palm Gang to uphold martial justice together. Expel the heavenly demons and bring peace to the martial world. Wang San's breathing paused, suddenly understanding Feng Qi intentions. This guy really knows how to stir up trouble. He is determined to run wild on the path of self-destruction. Crazy. Chu Yuanlang spewed out a mouthful of blood. If you want to deal with someone, just deal with them. Why do you need such a grand reason? If you want to win me over, you should have severely injured me first and then discussed it properly, right? Does anyone do things like you do? Uphold martial righteousness, Pa. Fine, I agree. Chu Yuanlang said urgently. Chu gang leader, you agreed so readily. Is there a catch? Du Ji paused, asking. Bullshit. Chu Yuanlang said angrily, don't you know how many times you've stabbed me? If I keep negotiating with you, I'll fucking die. Who can take charge if I die? Du Ji paused, then chuckled, Chu gang leader makes a good point. If you want to cooperate, find someone to treat my wounds quickly. Chu Yuanlang, who had been holding on, quickly said a sentence after knowing Du Ji's real demand. His body softened, and he quickly fell into a coma. Du Ji's arm around his neck suddenly sank. He quickly exerted force to hold Chu Yuanlang, reached out to check his breath, and shouted urgently, Hanzhou, what are you waiting for? Find someone to treat the gang leader's wounds. If the gang leader dies, you'll be the sinner of the Iron Palm Gang. Hanzhou choked, NMB, the gang leader was seriously injured by you, how come it's my responsibility if he dies? Despite his complaints, he didn't dare to delay. He glared at Du Ji and jumped back into the gang to find a doctor. The remaining gang members were still watching Du Ji closely, fearing that he would run away. Du Ji smiled slightly, propped up Chu Yuanlang with the arm around his neck, and put the flying knife in his other hand against his throat. He looked at the remaining Hall Master. Hall Master, please restrain your gang members. The gang leader and I have just reached a cooperation agreement. I don't want his death to disrupt the great peace that the martial world is about to welcome. Otherwise, Feng Qi will become the sinner of the entire martial arts world. Wang San glanced at Du Ji, his heart pounding. Damn, this one actually did it. It's only been 2 days. Feng Qi actually held a top-notch master hostage, turning a second-tier gang into his own aid. Is there any justice left? He calmly opened his personal information, glanced at his rank that had risen to 33, swallowed involuntarily, and moved up more than 200 places just by following along. The rank of Feng Qi, who led this matter, must already be the first in the simulation field, right? Among the disciples of the Iron Palm Gang, a small follower who had witnessed the whole process widened his eyes, looking at Du Ji and Wang San in disbelief, almost going crazy. Who are these two? They're too fierce. I finally got a foothold in the Iron Palm Gang and was preparing to find an opportunity to climb up. You guys took over the Iron Palm Gang, making me look incompetent. Chapter 31, Give the gang leader a surprise. Soon, the doctor hurriedly arrived and applied the golden wound medicine to Chu Yuan Lang. After briefly stopping the bleeding, he had him carried back to his residence for further treatment. From beginning to end, Du Ji never left Chu Yuan Lang's side. He held a long sword and took care of him attentively, constantly inquiring about the patient's condition from the doctor. If he didn't have the long sword against the gang leader's neck, he would be the person closest to the gang leader. Seeing Feng Qi venturing into dangerous territory, Wang San wanted to say something, but after considering for a moment, he swallowed his words and silently followed Du Ji. With Chu Yuan Lang severely injured, if they were to leave with him, the Iron Palm Gang's people would continue to follow. If Chu Yuan Lang were to die during the journey, they would have no way out and would instead enter the Iron Palm Gang's internal affairs, ensuring Chu Yuan Lang's recovery. Feng Qi always made the most correct choices in a short amount of time. Compared to him, Wang San realized that he still lacked consideration in his own thinking. The Iron Palm Gang was a sect in the martial world, and it was common for disciples to get injured. The doctor was familiar with treating injuries, but it was the first time he saw someone being treated with a sword pointed at them. It was always with a sword that the doctor was forced to treat the injured. You're worried that he'll die, so why did you stab him with so many knives? The doctor cursed in his heart, but he didn't dare to act recklessly because there was still someone standing beside Du Ji, occasionally laughing at a severed hand like a sickly adorable person. Two individuals with such unconventional behavior coming to assassinate, they were definitely not normal people. The doctor treated the wounds with trembling hands, afraid of making a mistake. Not only would his own hall master not spare him, but if these two lunatics holding the gang leader hostage were to turn back, he would also be stabbed with a sword. Doctor, be more steady. This is your gang leader. You must save him, otherwise, the Iron Palm Gang will be finished. Du Ji reminded the doctor, then looked at Hanzhou and the others who were close by, scolding, you two, move aside. You're blocking the doctor's light. Feng Qi, don't you have any conscience? The gang leader has already agreed to your conditions. Can't you let him go first and let the doctor treat him properly? Hanzhou glared at Du Ji, his anger reaching its peak. Han Hall Master, our alliance is still fragile. I'm worried that someone might harm me or the gang leader, ruining the good situation we've fought so hard for. Morality needs to be protected with a long sword. This is a last resort, please understand. Du Ji fell silent for a moment, then said seriously. Wang San looked at Du Ji and silently learned from his way of speaking, also reflecting on himself. Compared to Du Ji, his understanding of the sickly adorable person was too rigid, far from being as natural and speaking and acting as if Feng Qi personality was always like that. He had to admit his inferiority. What the heck? Hanzhou was infuriated by Du Ji, his anger reaching its peak. He tightly gripped the sword in his hand, wanting to rush forward and chop Feng Qi into pieces, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. He couldn't bear the responsibility of killing the gang leader. If the gang leader died, the Iron Palm Gang would truly be finished. Han senior brother, calm down and save the gang leader first. The hall master, who didn't speak much, glanced at Du Ji and calmly said, when the gang leader wakes up, he will handle everything in the gang. What is the hall master's name? Du Ji looked at him and asked. Lu Cheng. The person replied. So you're Master Lu. Du Ji smiled, I see that Master Lu is calm and steady, a person who can handle big matters. I wonder if tonight's events have been notified to the other hall masters and Chu Yuanlang's relatives. Lu Cheng was momentarily stunned. They have been notified. When will they arrive? Du Ji asked. The ones nearby can arrive tomorrow, while those far away can arrive in 3 to 5 days. Lu Cheng cooperated very well, answering whatever Du Ji asked. Master Liu's plan should be to temporarily appease me and then wait for the others to arrive, and then discuss how to deal with me, right? Du Ji smiled and asked. I dare not. Lu Cheng pointed at the unconscious Chu Yuanlang and succinctly said, the gang leader is in your hands. A person can't go without eating or drinking. As long as there is food and drink, there is an opportunity for poisoning. But there are few poisons that can cause immediate loss of mobility and render a person unable to act. So, you probably won't do that. Du Ji smiled as he looked at him, so, the only option left is to take advantage of my relaxation and arrange for someone to assassinate me, seizing the opportunity to save the gang leader. After all, a person's energy is limited, and one can't even go without sleep. Perhaps you have already arranged archers outside the door, waiting for me to doze off so they can shoot me with an arrow. Wang San looked at Lu Cheng, pondering whether he should make his own appearance. But Du Ji didn't say anything, so he couldn't act rashly. Since Du Ji's sudden attack until now, there had always been someone monitoring them. They didn't even have a chance to discuss among themselves. The current situation was not part of the plan, and he didn't know where to start cooperating. The side effects of the sickly adorable person's fear were too great. If he used it and ruined Feng Qi good situation, it wouldn't be beautiful. Therefore, he could only wait quietly, maintaining his image with a severed hand, silently improving his own attributes. Lu Cheng's expression remained unchanged. I won't risk the gang leader's life. I can't bear the consequences of failure. When he's unconscious, you naturally wouldn't dare to risk him. That's why you said that once the gang leader wakes up, he will naturally handle the gang's affairs. Du Ji, like a detective who sees through everything, spoke confidently, when Chu Yuanlang is unconscious, he's naturally at my mercy. But as soon as he wakes up, with his skills, it should not be difficult to temporarily break free from my control. Perhaps you will not only summon the hall masters from all over, but also invite experts, striving for absolute security. After all, who doesn't have a few capable friends after being in the martial arts world for so long? Mr. Qi does have a clever mind. Lu Cheng sneered, interrupting Du Ji, I'm not as roundabout as you. Just keep your mind at ease. Since the gang leader has agreed to cooperate with you, no one will touch you before he wakes up. No one will touch me before old Chu wakes up. Du Ji laughed. Old Chu? A vein on Lu Cheng's forehead twitched, suppressing his anger, naturally. What if he never wakes up? Du Ji turned to look at the unconscious Chu Yuanlang, eager to try, like now, neither waking nor dying, wouldn't I be safe and sound forever? The doctor's hand trembled imperceptibly. Damn it! Lu Cheng clenched his fist and was about to pounce on Du Ji, but at the next moment, Du Ji slightly moved his sword, stopping him in his tracks. He took a deep breath, glared at Du Ji with a livid face, finally understanding why Hanzhou was always so furious. This one was too damn annoying. That's more like it. You clearly care deeply about old Chu, why pretend to be so calm? Easily breaking through Lu Cheng's psychological defense, Du Ji looked at him with encouraging eyes. Master Lu, one's mental health is very important and needs constant maintenance. Learn from us, the heavenly demon, express your true feelings directly, life won't be so tiring. Lu Cheng took a deep breath, not wanting to say a word to Du Ji. Wang San silently curled his lips. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't beat you, he would have wanted to slap you. Maintenance is a supportive keyword, how could you use it so offensively? Rest assured, old Chu is now my partner. I still have to join hands with him to create great things. If you want him dead, I have to protect him. Du Ji shook his head and sighed lightly. No one wants the gang leader dead. Lu Cheng gritted his teeth. Right. Du Ji nodded, changing the subject. Hall masters, why don't we give old Chu a surprise? Lu Cheng and Hanzhou exchanged glances, both having a bad feeling. Lu Cheng asked with a trembling voice, what surprise? The Iron Palm gang, from top to bottom, is rotten to the core. Du Ji said, we need to uphold the righteousness, peace, integrity and stability of the martial arts world. With the current reputation of the Iron Palm gang, it's obviously not enough. So, we must start by rectifying ourselves and turn the Iron Palm Gang into a positive gang. I think we should establish new gang rules. Investigate all gang members, publicly execute those who oppress the people, abolish all usury, unpaid labor, no more kidnapping of women, those who have been kidnapped should all be returned, along with compensation. Even our core business of grain transportation, I think the price can be lowered, as much as possible to be affordable to the common people. Lu Cheng. Hanzhou. The name Iron Palm Gang is not very good either, it's too murderous, not in line with our new image of upholding justice in the martial arts world. Du Ji thought for a moment, why not change the name too, let's call it the Peacekeeping Gang, simple and direct. Chapter 32, Peacekeeping Elder. In just a moment, even the names of the gangs have changed? Are you sure this is a surprise for the gang leader, not digging up his ancestors' graves? The two hall masters glanced at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. Hanzhou signaled to Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng reluctantly said, Mr. Qi, what you said is a big deal. We can't make the decision. Let's wait for the gang leader to wake up and talk about it. Master Lu, before old Chu passed out, he agreed to cooperate with me. Du Ji frowned, are you going against the gang leader's orders? Who do you think you are, using a chicken feather as an arrow? Do you really think you can do whatever you want by holding the gang leader hostage? Lu Cheng coldly said, Mr. Qi, the gang leader did agree to cooperate with you, but he did not give specific orders. We are members of the Iron Palm Gang, not your subordinates. Unless the gang leader personally gives us orders, we cannot execute your commands. Do you want old Chu to give the order personally? Du Ji asked. Yes, we only listen to the gang leader. The two hall masters nodded at the same time. I neglected that, Du Ji smiled apologetically, I forgot that my supreme elder was given by the Feng family. It's okay, wait for me. In the puzzled eyes of Han and Lu, Du Ji bent down and put his ear close to Chu Yuanlang's mouth, nodding gently. After a while, Du Ji raised his head and said naturally to the two, all right, go and execute the command I just gave. Old Chu just appointed me as the supreme elder of the Iron Palm Gang before he passed out. I have the same authority as him and can command everything in the Iron Palm Gang. The doctor's hand trembled and almost poked his finger into Chu Yuanlang's wound. How could there be such shameless person in the world? Han and Lu were both stunned. Did he think we were stupid or blind? Wang San held his breath and felt that he had gained some insight. Hanzhou's face turned red, and he roared, Feng Qi, you're talking nonsense. The gang leader hasn't woken up at all. Du Ji nodded affirmatively, he woke up. He just woke up for a while. Wang San, did you see it? Wang San cooperated extremely well and said expressionlessly, he woke up. I saw his eyes move and his mouth move. The doctor's medical skills are excellent. What does it have to do with me? The doctor's hand trembled again. At this moment, he really wished he was deaf and blind. Seeing a doctor was too torturous. Fortunately, Han and Lu wouldn't make things difficult for a doctor. Hanzhou's eye twitched violently and cursed, Feng Qi, do you have no shame? Even if the gang leader wakes up, he can't possibly say so much in such a short time. Han Hall Master, when your neck is held by a sword, you will speak quickly too, Du Ji said seriously, adjusting the angle of the sword. Hanzhou's voice stopped abruptly. Du Ji narrowed his eyes, so, do you understand? If you do, then do as I said. Lu Cheng looked at Du Ji and suddenly took a step forward, saying, are you afraid to kill the gang leader? If you kill the gang leader, you won't survive either. Lu Cheng, do you want to seize power? Du Ji's sword pressed lightly, and a red mark appeared on Chu Yuanlang's neck, his voice swift. Lu Cheng stopped in his tracks. Du Ji looked at the two and smiled, Master Lu, stay and talk to me about the main members of the Iron Palm Gang. Master Han, go and execute the command I just gave. Start with the headquarters of the Iron Palm Gang, find a tailor to customize unified gang uniforms with Wei written on the front and He written on the back. Find a carpenter to change the signboard. Tomorrow morning, I want to see the sign of the Weha Gang hanging on the door. If you see any worms in the gang, they can be dealt with during the day. Oh, and don't forget to pay the craftsmen 3 times the usual amount for disturbing them in the middle of the night. Hanzhou looked at Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng nodded at him and said, go. Hanzhou glared fiercely at Du Ji, turned around, and was about to leave. Han Hall Master, don't go against your will, Du Ji's voice sounded behind him, when it's bright, I will take the gang leader to inspect the completion of the task. Hanzo realized what Du Ji was going to do, suddenly shook, turned around abruptly, and with red eyes, said, Feng Qi, don't go too far. There's no way the gang leader can go for an inspection in his current condition. Du Ji smiled, I believe in the doctor's medical skills. Besides, I heard that for injured people, more activity and sunlight can help with recovery. A doctor with a kind heart. The doctor realized that he couldn't remain silent anymore. He looked up at Du Ji and said, Mr. Qi, the gang leader is seriously injured and needs rest. Moving him at this time can easily worsen his condition. Did you hear that? Du Ji glared at Hanzo, if you heard it, then do your job properly and don't let the gang leader worry. Otherwise, if the gang leader's condition worsens, it will be all your fault. Hanzo glared fiercely at Du Ji, took big strides, and left. A brief silence. Lu Cheng suddenly asked, Feng Qi, why are you doing this? Is it worth it for the insignificant Feng family? The Feng family is already a thing of the past, Du Ji said, I have said it countless times. Everything I do is for the world, for upholding the righteousness of the martial world and maintaining peace. Lu Cheng asked, are you really the heavenly demon? Absolutely, if it were anyone else, they wouldn't be able to do what I've done, Du Ji said confidently. Are you feeling proud now? Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat, are there many heavenly demons like you? How many? Probably a few hundred. Du Ji sighed, as a heavenly demon who takes up the responsibility of maintaining peace, the restless Iron Palm Gang cannot be peaceful. You can imagine what the world would be like if other heavenly demons were allowed to grow. As he said that, he glanced at Wang San beside him. Wang San. Lu Cheng. So, that's why I can't wait to eliminate them while they're still in their infancy, to eliminate all hidden dangers. I can't let them grow. Du Ji said righteously. You will become the target of everyone's attacks, Lu Cheng took a deep breath and said. For justice, for peace, I can even risk my life. What do I have to fear about becoming a target? Du Ji said with a smile. Madman. Lu Cheng muttered, confirming Du Ji's identity as a heavenly demon. You just don't understand the heavenly demons. Once you do, you'll want to get rid of them as desperately as you want to get rid of me. Du Ji said with a sigh, Master Lu, let's not discuss these meaningless things. You humans have a saying, judge by deeds, not by heart, for there are no good people when judged by heart. You can't tell good from bad by appearance. The heavenly demons are rare people whose words and hearts are in sync. What their nature is, that's what they are. After spending some time with me, you'll find that I'm a good person. At critical moments, I will risk my life to protect you, just like I once protected the Feng family. The Feng family has already been protected by you into the ditch. The Iron Palm Gang is almost there too. Lu Cheng muttered in his heart and stopped talking, but he agreed wholeheartedly with Feng Qi's judgment of the heavenly demons. He even began to consider whether he could use a heavenly demon to deal with the heavenly demons. Master Lu, tell me about the structure of the Iron Palm Gang. Du Ji said, once I understand our personnel configuration, I can proceed with the next steps. We don't have much time left. Lu Cheng glanced at Du Ji and then at Chu Yuanlang under his sword, and said, under the gang leader of the Iron Palm Gang, there are more than 3,000 gang members. There are 10 halls, namely the Orient Long God Hall, Hall Master Chu Filong, White Tiger Hall, Hall Master Chu Fihu, Rose Finch Hall, Hall Master Chu Mukian, Basalt Hall, Hall Master Hanzo, Azure Dragon Hall, Hall Master Chu Fipeng, Greenwood Hall, Hall Master Yan Wu. Chapter 33, When You Can't Hold Chopsticks. That night, the Iron Palm Gang was in chaos. All the gang members were dispatched to Luoyang City, some to find carpenters, some to find tailors, some to find embroiderers. Hanzo was holding back his anger, but he dared not disobey Feng Qi orders, not even in the slightest. Feng Qi was reckless, and Hanzo was worried that he would really dare to bring out gang leader Chu the next day to inspect his work. Changing the Iron Palm Gang to the peacekeeping gang was somewhat humiliating, but it was better than having the gang leader killed by him. The canal transport was a big piece of fat meat, and countless eyes were watching. Without Chu Yuanlang holding it down, the Iron Palm Gang would not be far from destruction. At worst, he could just get rid of Feng Qi, apologize, and help the Iron Palm Gang clear its name. In Chu Yuanlang's sick room, Du Ji and Lu Cheng talked about their ideals all night and also probed each other. Lu Cheng's original intention was to guard Du Ji, hoping to find an opportunity to snatch the gang leader from him. Who knew that by the end, even the sickly Wang San had managed to sneak in a nap, while Feng Qi was still full of energy, showing no signs of fatigue. On the contrary, he was yawning one after another, somewhat unable to hold on. If it weren't for Feng Qi's lack of killing intent, he would have been the first to fall. Dawn broke. Lu Cheng, with dark circles under his eyes, yawned, "Mr. Qi, you have such a strong energy, you must be a standout in the heavenly demon." Du Ji modestly said, "I wouldn't say standout, just a bit more energetic by chance." In fact, Du Ji had originally planned to tie up Lu Cheng, then take turns resting with Wang San. He had tested the Special Forces 8-minute rest method on Earth, taking an 8-minute nap every once in a while to recover most of his energy. With his keen senses and Wang San's warning, sneaking out for 8 minutes should not be a problem. But who knew that after a whole night of tossing and turning, he didn't feel the slightest bit sleepy. It must have something to do with his skyrocketing attributes and the increased mental power he had gained earlier. It was a pleasant surprise. It made sense. In the game, virtual characters only have a stamina setting. When they need to sleep, they rest, completely depending on whether the person playing the game outside is tired or not. Wang San still needed to sleep. The simulation field setting was already very humanized. However, he had rested for more than half an hour and had recovered his energy. His attribute values were probably not low either. At this moment, there was a commotion outside. Accompanied by the advice, "Young master, don't be impulsive." With a bang, the door was kicked open, and a person rushed in with a cold wind. "I want to see what kind of heavenly demon dares to." "Dad!" The man saw Chu Yuanlang with a sword at his throat and braked urgently. "Young master?" "Chu Filong." Du Ji glanced at him and said indifferently, "Impulsiveness is the devil. Do you know that if I hadn't raised my sword a bit just now, your action just now would have sent your father to the west? I preserved your filial piety, you should thank me. Get the hell out." Chu Filong was furious, "Let go of my father, and I'll spare your life." Hanzhou followed in. He had already changed into a blue-black outfit with a white circle on the front, inside which was a straightway character. He awkwardly surveyed the scene in the room, reached out to pull Chu Filong, and said tactfully, "Young master, let's go out first. The gang leader needs to rest. We can talk outside. My father is being held at sword point, and you want me to go out and talk?" Chu Filong was angry. He pointed at the Wei character on Hanzhou's chest, "And you fool, you do whatever he tells you to do? Are you a member of the Iron Palm gang, or are you his man?" Hanzhou glanced at Du Ji and couldn't say a word. "Kneel down, or I'll cut off one of your father's fingers." Du Ji looked at Chu Filong and suddenly shouted. With a clang, he had already drawn another long sword, the blade pressing on Chu Yuanlang's thumb. "Are my people something you can scold?" Chu Filong was stunned, glaring angrily at Du Ji. "Feng Qi, what are you talking about? When did I become your man?" Hanzhou hurriedly defended himself with a red and white face. "Wearing the clothes of the peacekeeping gang, you are my man." Du Ji said seriously, "If you can't even protect the dignity of my people, how can you talk about maintaining justice in the world?" He looked at Chu Filong again, "Kneel down." Du Ji didn't miss any opportunity to maintain his position. He pressed down with his long sword, and Chu Yuanlang's finger immediately turned red. The unconscious Chu Yuanlang twitched subconsciously. "You dare!" Chu Filong was anxious. He took a step forward, and Du Ji's other hand pressed the sword against Chu Yuanlang's throat, looking provocatively at Chu Filong. "Rebel, do you want to kill your father and usurp the throne?" Chu Filong's face turned black, caught between a rock and a hard place. At this moment, he finally understood why Hanzhou had tried to stop him at the door. Without killing Feng Qi, this was an unsolvable situation. Whoever came in would be humiliated, unless he wanted his father to die. Not kneeling. Du Ji shook his head and laughed mockingly, "Old Chu, you have a good son with ambition. Unfortunately, from now on, your nickname in the martial arts world will probably be Nine-Fingered Divine Palm. In the future, I hope you won't blame your son when you can't pick up chopsticks." As he spoke, he raised his long sword, ready to chop. "Stop!" Chu Filong's eyes were about to split, and he gritted his teeth, I'll kneel. He glared at Du Ji and slowly knelt on the ground, word by word, are you satisfied now? Why are you kneeling to me? Du Ji looked surprised, kneel to Hanzhou. You insulted his dignity, not mine. Chu Filong was stunned. He got up with a livid face, turned to Hanzhou, and was about to kneel down. Hall Master Han, I was wrong. Hanzhou hurriedly helped him up. Young master, there's no need. He looked at Du Ji, flustered, Mr. Qi, you don't need to stand up for me, I don't have any dignity. Hall Master Han, you may not have dignity, but when you put on that outfit, you represent the peacekeeping gang. What I'm defending is not only your dignity, but also the face of the peacekeeping gang. Du Ji said seriously, I want every member of the peacekeeping gang to know that as long as you put on this outfit, no one can bully you. No one bullies us, except you. Originally, changing the sign and the clothes, I could still live. But with the young master kneeling for me, I have no way out in the Iron Palm gang. Hanzhou was on the verge of tears. Du Ji's move was ruthless, effortlessly driving a wedge between him and the eldest son. Hall Master Han, don't stop me. This kneel is self-inflicted. Chu Filong said with a gloomy face, pushing away Hanzhou's hand, and gave him a solid kowtow, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have insulted the peacekeeping gang. It's over. Hanzhou closed his eyes in pain, his heart filled with despair. Are you satisfied now? Chu Filong stood up again, looking at Du Ji, his eyes cold, as if looking at a dead man. Eldest son, don't blame me. The peacekeeping gang was jointly established by your father and me. To uphold the righteousness of the martial arts world, we must use iron-blooded means. I had no choice but to do this. You are also a member of the Iron Palm gang, since you're back, you should fulfill your filial duties. Change into the peacekeeping gang's clothes first. Du Ji smiled, the old man hasn't woken up yet. When he does, I hope he sees a completely renewed gang. Feng Qi, don't push it too far. Chu Filong said angrily. You've already knelt, what's the big deal about changing clothes? I can't possibly threaten you with your father's finger again, can I? Du Ji looked at Chu Yuanlang with regret, picked up his sword again, and toyed with his fingers. In the future, when you can't pick up chopsticks, I hope you won't resent your son. Reverse ladder effect, when you ask the target to do something excessive, and then ask him to do something not so excessive, he will find it relatively easier to accept. Fine, I'll change. Chu Filong's eyes widened, his face flushed with humiliation. Hall Master Han, go get me a set of clothes. Hanzhou nodded. 4 sets. Du Ji corrected, the gang leader, Master Lu, and the doctor also need to change. Lu Cheng remained silent. After a night of confrontation, he had long understood that compliance was the best way to deal with Du Ji, so that the old gang leader would suffer less. Overnight, his neck had been rubbed by Du Ji to leave more than 10 marks. If this continued, they might as well rename their gang to Iron Neck Gang. Du Ji thought for a moment, looked at Chu Filong, and ordered, eldest son, you are the head of the Chu family. If any other hall masters come to visit your father in the future, you are responsible for receiving them. Whoever comes must change their clothes. If they don't, I'll break your father's fingers. There are 6 more hall masters, 10 fingers should be enough. Chu Filong was furious. Feng Qi, don't push it too far. My father is in such a state, can he wear clothes? Du Ji said, draping it over him will do. Old Chu is a symbol of the peacekeeping gang, he must set an example no matter what. Chapter 34, Feng Qi does extreme good things. Father was held tightly in Du Ji's hand, and Chu Filong, unwilling as he was, could only reluctantly agree to Du Ji's request. 2 more hours passed. Chu Fipeng, Yan Wu, and Chu Muqian returned one after another. When they saw that the Iron Palm Gang's sign had been replaced by the Peacekeeping Gang's sign, they were equally furious. However, this time Chu Filong stopped them and explained. Even if they were angry, they could only reluctantly change into the Peacekeeping Gang's clothing. Little sister, what should we do? We have to find a way to save father. If Feng Qi continues to torment him, the Iron Palm Gang will become a laughingstock. Chu Filong had already understood the cause and effect of the situation. I think that guy is serious. Is he really the heavenly demon? Chu Muqian, who was about 27 or 28 years old, with her hair tied up in a bun and dressed as a woman, frowned and asked as she looked at her father's door from a distance. I asked all the witnesses from yesterday. Feng Qi behavior is indeed different from ordinary people. Just now, I sent Fi Peng and Yan Wu to investigate the Feng family. Chu Filong said, but it will take at least 3 hours for them to come back. Can we kill him? Chu Muqian asked. I've considered it. Han Zhou said, but Feng Qi is very cunning. Last night, he subtly indicated to us that as long as he is not killed with one blow, he will kill the hall master first. We can't take the risk. Hasn't he relaxed at all? Chu Muqian asked. He has been energetic the whole time, showing no signs of fatigue. Han Zhou's eyes were bloodshot, and he shook his head. He hasn't even changed the hand that holds the sword. His voice suddenly stopped, and he turned to look at Chu Yuanlang's door. Chu Yuanlang, pale-faced, walked out of the door unsteadily. He was covered in bandages and wearing a peacekeeping gang's clothing. Du Ji stood behind him, the long sword still held against his neck. Lu Cheng expressionlessly carried a chair and stood to the side, while Wang San still held his severed hand, muttering to himself. Gang leader! Father! Father! The three of them were shocked and hurriedly ran over. Feng Qi, how dare you let him out when my father is in such a state? Chu Muqian's face turned pale as she angrily questioned. Chu Filong kept pulling at her clothes from behind, hinting for her not to act impulsively. Du Ji glanced at Chu Muqian, ignoring her, and turned to signal Lu Cheng, Master Lu, the chair. Lu Cheng quickly placed the chair next to Chu Yuanlang. Hall Master Chu, please sit down. The doctor said that your body still needs rest and cannot be overworked. Du Ji supported Chu Yuanlang with concern and helped him sit on the chair. The Iron Palm Gang's flag had been replaced with a flag that read Peacekeeping, and the gang members in the courtyard were all dressed in Peacekeeping gang attire, even their hall masters had changed their clothes. Looking at the completely changed Iron Palm Gang overnight, Chu Yuanlang's eyes twitched involuntarily and he sighed, Mr. Qi, you have great methods. My methods are average. It's all thanks to the gang leader's guidance. Du Ji smiled and said, all the subordinates of the gang leader are loyal to him. I am just benefiting from the gang leader's reputation. If there were one or two who disregarded the gang leader's safety and wanted to seize power, I wouldn't be able to achieve this. They could just gather dozens of strong archers, surround the room, and shoot randomly. I would have become a sieve long ago. Chu Yuanlang fell into silence and for a moment, he didn't know whether to be grateful or sad. Father, don't worry, I will find a way to save you. Chu Muqian said. Miss Chu, I will only say this once. I haven't done anything to your father. We are in a cooperative relationship. If you continue to treat me as an enemy, you will only bring unbearable consequences upon yourself. Du Ji looked at Chu Muqian, frowned, and said, the peacekeeping gang is here to do something big. We are no longer the undisciplined Iron Palm Gang. As a hall master, you should take the lead in maintaining discipline within the gang and not say things that are detrimental to unity in the future. You. Chu Muqian looked at the sword on her father's finger that Du Ji had moved, her eyes filled with tears of grievance, and said, yes. Mr. Qi, whether it's upholding justice or seeking peace, relying on threats is not a long-term solution. Chu Yuanlang sighed weakly and said, why don't we sit down and have a good talk, and come up with a solution that we can all accept? We will talk, but before that, we need to take action. After all, our time is running out. Du Ji smiled and shook his head. Old Chu, I established the peacekeeping gang not for fun, but to really do something. Hall Master Han, gather the gang members. I have a few things to announce. Han Zhou looked at Chu Yuanlang. Chu Yuanlang nodded at him, go, from this moment on, Mr. Qi orders are my orders. Since we have agreed to cooperate, we must show sincerity. Han Zhou turned and left. Chu Yuanlang stopped talking and silently healed his injuries. He was completely under someone else's control and couldn't do anything. He wanted to see what Feng Qi, who had been holding him hostage, could do. Feng Qi wanted to use him to threaten the gang members. As long as he didn't push Feng Qi too far, his life would not be in danger. People always have moments of negligence. When he relaxed, he would break free from Feng Qi control. The Iron Palm Gang would still be his. His decades of hard work couldn't be shaken by changing clothes and names. A moment later, the Iron Palm Gang's gang members gathered in the courtyard, all wearing uniform clothing, looking spirited. But their eyes towards Du Ji were filled with anger. After all, this guy had been tormenting them all night. Everyone. Du Ji inspected the crowd. Since last night, the Iron Palm Gang is a thing of the past. We have a new name now, the Peacekeeping Gang. Today, in front of the former gang leader, I reiterate the rules of the Peacekeeping Gang: maintain peace, uphold justice, maintain stability, maintain order, maintain morality, maintain fairness, and even maintain the environment. In short, we must maintain what we can, and for what we can't, we must find a way to maintain. Wang San swallowed, thinking, can keywords be used like this? Hanzhou, find a few literate gang members and have them note down our principles. Post them on the streets of Liuyang City, striving to let every citizen know about our changes. Du Ji turned to Hanzhou and ordered, we want everyone to know that when they are oppressed by bullies, they can come to us. When they encounter unfair treatment, they can come to us. We can solve their problems. First, we want to create a peaceful and stable environment in Liuyang City, then gradually spread out, and eventually influence the entire martial world, the entire country. Hanzhou looked at Chu Yuanlang again. This matter was too big, and he felt somewhat unable to make a decision. Why do you keep looking at me? Didn't I just say it? Mr. Key orders are my orders. Chu Yuanlang said. Hanzhou sighed quietly, selected literate people from the gang members, and found someone to bring ink and paper. His face was somewhat grey, feeling that even if the gang leader regained the Iron Palm Gang, there would be no place for him in the gang. Why did this Feng Qi only pit him? In a short while, more than a dozen tables were set up, and those who were literate gathered together to discuss how to write the notice. Du Ji glanced at them, then looked at Hanzhou and asked, Master Han, did you pay the craftsmen 3 times the wages as I said when you ordered the uniforms and changed the signs last night? Hanzhou was stunned. It was too rushed last night, I didn't have time. I think you're just too used to being domineering. Du Ji snorted coldly, we want to uphold justice, we must first stand firm ourselves. If we can't even do fairness and justice, how can the people possibly believe us? Later, you personally lead people to make up the wages for the craftsmen who were disturbed last night, apologize to them, get their forgiveness, and explain our new doctrine to them. Hanzhou was stunned, then saluted Du Ji. Yes. Don't be insincere. Du Ji said, whether your actions are sincere or not will reflect on my growth. If my strength does not increase, it means you are not doing enough. I will cut off one of gang leader Chu's fingers. If you fail once, I will cut off one, if you fail twice, I will cut off 2. You. Chu Muqian was furious. Du Ji turned to Chu Muqian, Hall Master Chu, is there a problem? Looking at the long sword on her father's finger, Chu Muqian took a deep breath, I'm fine. If there's nothing wrong, then go supervise Master Han, in case he can't bear the humiliation and runs away. Du Ji nodded, after all, old Chu is your father, you care about him more. If he really runs away, I will also cut your father's fingers. Hanzhou. Chu Muqian. Chu Yuanlang sighed quietly, suddenly understanding why Du Ji didn't negotiate with him. Using him to threaten others to execute orders was obviously more effective than so-called negotiations. Du Ji looked around at everyone and continued, also, Master Han, all those dirty things I told you about the gang yesterday, clear them all today. Apologize where you should, get the forgiveness of the victims. We need to show the greatest sincerity to prove our changes to the people of Liuyang City. Chapter 35, Jackals of the Same Tribe. Have you heard? The Iron Palm Gang was taken over by someone, and they were forced to change their name to the Peacekeeping Gang. They are making the members of the Iron Palm Gang apologize to people all over the city. They even changed their clothes. I saw it too. They are posting notices all over the city, saying that they will uphold peace in the martial world. They claim that anyone who has grievances can come to them. It sounds good, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it either. Didn't Zhang Lao Er's eldest daughter get kidnapped by the Iron Palm Gang a few days ago? She was just returned today, with a large sum of money, and she knelt at Zhang Lao Er's door, begging for forgiveness. Her face was swollen from being beaten. Zhang Lao Er was so scared that he kowtowed to her and didn't dare to bring his daughter back home. I wouldn't dare either. Who knows when the Peacekeeping Gang will turn back into the Iron Palm Gang? We'll be the ones suffering then. Ah, these martial arts sects are all the same. They rely on their strength to bully whoever they want. When have they ever cared about us common people? This world is going to the dogs. This time might be different. Let me tell you a secret, don't spread it outside. My third brother is working for the Iron Palm Gang, and he said that the one who took over the gang is not human. Not human? Could it be a ghost? Scarier than a ghost, it's the Heavenly Demon. Heavenly Demon? Yes, I heard that last night, the leader of the Iron Palm Gang was stabbed more than 10 times by the Heavenly Demon, but he was completely unharmed. The peacekeeping gang was created overnight by the Heavenly Demon. If humans are already so terrifying, wouldn't we be even more unlucky with the Heavenly Demon? You're wrong again. The Heavenly Demon is different from us humans. My third brother said that the Heavenly Demon seems to have a restriction. They must grow according to their attributes, otherwise, they will become weak. The Heavenly Demon who took over the Iron Palm Gang has the attribute of upholding. He announced in front of everyone that he will uphold justice, fairness, and righteousness. Isn't that what's written on the peacekeeping gang's notice? So, the Heavenly Demon is even better than humans. Not exactly. It seems that there are many types of Heavenly Demons, good and bad. My third brother couldn't explain the specifics, but I think the Heavenly Demon who took over the Iron Palm Gang is a good person. Brothers, stop chatting here. Let's go to the Iron Palm Gang. The Heavenly Demon is holding a sword to the gang leader's neck, and he is publicly judging the case. It's quite lively. There are no walls that can't be penetrated. Moreover, Du Ji was so high profile that he wanted to announce his whereabouts to the whole world. That day, he and the Iron Palm Gang, which had become the peacekeeping gang, became the hottest topic in Liuyang City. Various rumors spread like wildfire. In less than an hour, everyone knew what Du Ji had done in the Iron Palm Gang. The timid people were still hesitating, but those who had been oppressed by the Iron Palm Gang and had no way out, after seeing the notice, they broke the jar and went directly to the Iron Palm Gang to seek justice. Du Ji didn't expect that his efforts to protect the interests of the people would be effective so quickly. Posting notices, forcing the members of the Iron Palm Gang to apologize in Liuyang City, he only wanted to gradually weaken the foundation of the Iron Palm Gang and establish the reputation of the peacekeeping gang. But he didn't expect that the Iron Palm Gang had done too many evil deeds over the years. There were actually people who didn't care about their own lives and didn't even want to verify the truth. They came to seek justice on the same day. Come to think of it, even small families like the Feng family treated their sparring partners as disposable, casually deciding their life and death. Not to mention the common people who were even worse than sparring partners. What a messed up world. However, this was just right. The government didn't care, so he took charge. When someone sought justice, he was happy to play the role of a righteous lord and seek justice for the people. What better way to enhance his reputation than a public trial? And so, a scene appeared outside Liuyang City. Former gang leader Chu Yuan Lang, with his body wrapped in bandages, sat expressionless under the scorching sun. Beside him, a young man held a long sword against his neck. Sitting at a table of noodles, he greeted each person who came to seek justice with a smile on his face. Beside them, the incense master and hall master of the Iron Palm Gang, dressed in the clothes of the peacekeeping gang, held short sticks at their temples, their faces pale, acting as bailiffs on both sides. If it were just this, it would still be within the public's acceptance. After all, Du Ji had just taken over the Iron Palm Gang and didn't have any hostages. How could he make the Iron Palm Gang obedient without holding a sword to the gang leader's neck? And how could the oppressed people dare to come forward and seek justice? But if there was another deranged youth holding a severed hand and smiling foolishly, the scene would be a bit off. However, for those common people who had been oppressed by the Iron Palm Gang and had no way out, they couldn't care less about such details. If they didn't take revenge and settle their grievances while the Iron Palm Gang was under someone else's control, when would they have the chance? At this moment, Du Ji was their savior. Even if the Heavenly Demon was suppressed afterwards and the Iron Palm Gang made a comeback, they would have vented their anger. Lord Heavenly Demon, I accuse Lu Hegu of the Iron Palm Gang. A year ago, he took a liking to my daughter Xiyulian and brought the members of the Iron Palm Gang to forcefully marry her for 3 coins. I refused, and he broke my leg and forcibly took Xiyulian away. When I went to the government to report, they beat me instead. My poor Xiyulian was tortured by that beast for 3 days and couldn't bear it anymore. She jumped into a well. My poor daughter was only 16 years old. I beg Lord Heavenly Demon to help me seek justice. A person with a face full of sorrow and fear knelt on the ground and told Du Ji about his grievances. Whether it was protecting the Feng family, betraying the Feng family, or upholding justice, Du Ji had always approached these matters with a gaming mentality. After all, his goal was to enhance his own strength through peacekeeping. But when the old man, who was kneeling before him, dragging a short leg, and skinny to the bone, cried out his grievances to him with a clear death or nothing attitude, his heart was suddenly moved. Even though he knew the simulation field was fake, he couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. This was too much. What about the Feng family? What about the Iron Palm gang? Not a single good one. This damn world, it should be villains like him who maintain it. At this moment, he suddenly felt that what he was doing had meaning. It was no longer purely about competing for the first place in the simulation field. Du Ji glanced at Chu Yuan Lang, gang leader Chu, what a great Iron Palm gang. Chu Yuan Lang, who was forced to execute publicly, was originally full of resentment. But his expression was somewhat embarrassed at this moment. Mr. Chi, these things were done by the people below, I didn't know. If I knew, I wouldn't have kept him to tarnish the reputation of the Iron Palm gang. Reputation? Du Ji snorted. Lu Cheng, bring Lu Hegu here. Lu Cheng reluctantly stepped forward and asked, whose subordinate is Lu Hegu? One of the incense masters acting as a bailiff stood up, awkwardly saying, he's my subordinate. Lu Cheng asked, do you know what he did? The incense master shook his head awkwardly, just about to speak. Suddenly, there was a commotion among the peacekeeping gang members behind him. A man broke through the crowd and ran wildly towards the outside. Lu Cheng glanced in that direction, and in a few leaps, he was behind the man, grabbed his neck and dragged him back, throwing him heavily on the ground. Lu Hegu's face was pale, he kowtowed to Du Ji like pounding garlic, please spare me, heavenly demon, I won't dare again. Please give me another chance, I am willing to sincerely join the peacekeeping gang and work for you. If the peacekeeping gang even accepts people like you, how can it talk about upholding justice? Du Ji snorted, Master Lu, kill him. Keeping such scum in the world pollutes the air. Don't let him die too easily. Lu Hegu's performance was already evidence enough. Besides, Du Ji had sharp ears and eyes, the whispers of the onlookers, the truth was already clear in his heart. Brother Qi, leave him to me. Wang San, who had been quiet all this time, suddenly stood up, I should add some more to my collection. After the battle ended last night, until now, his attributes had increased very little. After all, most of the time it was Feng Qi showing off, he couldn't even find a chance to perform. But when he stood with Du Ji in front of the crowd with a broken hand, and people around him were pointing and discussing, his attributes soared. In a short while, his personal ranking had risen by 5 places. How could Wang San miss such a good opportunity to improve his attributes? If he didn't take advantage of Du Ji's fame, when would he wait? Moreover, he had figured it out. Feng Qi keyword was peacekeeping. He was walking on a tightrope with such a big commotion. Once he collapsed, he would be irretrievable. But he was different. Being sickly adorable was just that, even if the peacekeeping gang collapsed in the future, it wouldn't change people's impression of him. His strength would only increase, not collapse. How powerful is Feng Qi now? Maybe he will be the one to turn the tide in the future. After all, the fear of the adorable is not unusable on Feng Qi. Chapter 36, Severe Illness Requires Strong Medicine. N. Du Ji glanced at him and nodded indifferently. Wang San stepped forward, holding a willow leaf knife, and walked towards the trembling Lu Hegu. As he walked, he said, My little black dog, I like you so much, how could you be so bad? Look, you have angered everyone, let me send you off with my own hands, dying in my embrace, you must be happy, right? Fear spread in Lu Hegu's heart. He tried to stand up and run, but the fall from Lu Cheng earlier had already caused internal injuries. He stood up but fell back to the ground. Watching Wang San approach closer and closer, the horror on his face grew heavier. He struggled and crawled desperately to escape. But Wang San didn't give him a chance. He rushed forward a few steps and reached his back, stepping on it heavily. Why do you want to escape? Why do you want to leave me like this? Since that's the case, you don't need your legs anymore. Without legs, you can never leave me again. Wang San swung his knife down towards his lower leg. Splat! Blood splattered. Amidst Lu Hegu's screams, Wang San's face was filled with ecstasy. Darling, your screams sound so beautiful. Unfortunately, such sounds can only be heard once. Keep screaming a little longer, and you won't be afraid anymore. Endure it, I will be gentle next. As he spoke, he swung his knife again, and the leg that had only been cut open before broke off. Lu Hegu let out a hysterical scream as he struggled and rolled on the ground. No, spare me. Master Lu, incense master, kill me. Don't let this madman torture me. No one moved. Du Ji stared at everyone from above, who would be willing to offend the higher-ups for a thug. What if he really killed the gang leader? The Chu family would surely retaliate against them. Attributes are increasing quickly. Seeing Wang San swiftly and decisively cut off Lu Hegu's leg, Du Ji immediately knew that his strength had improved. However, he didn't pay much attention to it. Since the reorganization of the Iron Palm gang began, his attributes had been steadily increasing without stopping. Especially after he determined Lu Hegu's guilt and defended justice for the bereaved old man, his attributes skyrocketed even more. Moreover, he exposed the heavenly demon's actions to everyone, which was equivalent to betraying all the participants present. The wider the spread of the heavenly demon's deeds, the more victims there would be, and the faster his strength would grow. With these two factors combined, he feared no one. At this moment, he felt that even if he let Chu Yuanlang go, he could still rush back in time to cut off his fingers if anyone tried to save him. Help you? Ha ha ha, cute little guy, besides me, who else would help you? Don't move, let me see your heart, let me see if I'm in it. Wang San's voice echoed between heaven and earth. The murmurs around them ceased. Many onlookers were frightened by the madness of Wang San. Some timid ones closed their eyes, while others couldn't bear the stimulation and vomited. Mr. Qi, this is going too far. Just kill him. Why torture him in front of everyone? Chu Yuanlang couldn't help but frown. Now you can't bear it. He tortured a 16-year-old girl for 3 days and forced her to jump into a well, breaking her father's leg. At that time, why didn't you feel sorry for him? Du Ji pointed at the old man with a limp leg below and said, severe cases require drastic measures. I want everyone to see the consequences of doing evil. I am not an official, I am the heavenly demon, and I uphold justice with my own methods. The old man with the limp leg was initially frightened by Wang San and couldn't say a word. But upon hearing Du Ji's words, he couldn't help but think of his own daughter's tragic death, and the reluctance in his eyes instantly disappeared. With tears in his eyes, he stared at the struggling and screaming Lu Hegu and said fiercely, Lord Heavenly Demon is right. To deal with such wicked people, they must accept the cruelest punishment and never dare to do evil again. After speaking, he no longer looked at Lu Hegu but straightened his tattered clothes and looked at Du Ji. He respectfully bowed and showed a relieved expression. Thank you, Lord Heavenly Demon, for seeking justice for me. I have no regrets in this life. I can now go down and see my poor daughter with dignity. Old man, the deceased is gone, but the living must continue. Otherwise, if I seek justice for you and you go and commit suicide, what is the meaning of the peace I uphold? Du Ji saw through his thoughts and smiled gently. Stay alive and live on for your daughter. See how I punish the bad guys one by one and how the world changes for the better. Isn't that good? Besides, Lu Hegu is a member of the Iron Palm gang. If the Iron Palm gang is not properly restrained, who should compensate for the harm they have caused over the years? If you die, who should I compensate? Lu Cheng, send someone to fetch 100 taels of silver and give it to this old man. Lord Heavenly Demon, I am already grateful for your seeking justice for me. How can I dare to accept your silver? The old man waved his hands repeatedly. Are you worried that someone will be jealous and snatch your silver? Du Ji asked. That's not what I mean. The old man said, I just feel that I have already received Lord's favor. Old man, no amount of money can bring back your daughter's life. Du Ji sighed, take this money and find a kind-hearted person to take care of you in your old age. The Peacekeeping Association is always here, and no one will dare to covet your wealth. Lu Cheng sent someone to fetch the money. Du Ji said, bring more. The Iron Palm gang has caused a lot of trouble over the years. Today, I'm afraid we'll have to pay a lot of silver in compensation. As soon as these words were spoken, the onlookers erupted in an uproar. Wealth has always moved people's hearts. They were initially worried that Du Ji alone would not be able to hold off the resurgence of the Iron Palm gang, and they would be the ones to suffer. But now, they could not only take revenge but also receive money. Things were different. With the money, they could even leave Liuyang City and start a new life elsewhere. 100 taels. They could never earn that much money in their entire lives. The old man looked at Du Ji, kowtowed a few more times, and sobbed uncontrollably, "Heavenly demon, you are a good person. I will worship you at home and pray for your longevity every day. Heavenly demon, I also have grievances. Niu Kaja of the Iron Palm Gang forced my father to death in order to seize my family's heirloom jade." In the middle of the crowd, an incense master's legs gave out, and he collapsed on the ground. "Heavenly demon, my family's 8 acres of fertile land were taken away by Yan Shao of the Iron Palm Gang. Heavenly demon." Whoosh! Suddenly, more than a dozen people rushed out from the crowd, scrambling to run towards Du Ji. Wang San, who had just stolen Du Ji's limelight, was once again ignored by everyone. Du Ji's attributes were rapidly increasing. At the same time, the members of the Iron Palm Gang were in chaos, and many of them turned to run. Who wouldn't be scared? Wang San was too ruthless. If they ran, they might still have a chance. If they stayed and were tortured by him, it would be worse than death. Seeing more and more people fleeing, Du Ji frowned slightly. "Chu Filong, catch them. If one escapes, I'll cut off one of your father's fingers." Chu Filong glared at Du Ji angrily and shouted, "Filong guards, what are you waiting for? Catch them. If one escapes, I'll use you as a test." Chu Yuanlang turned his head to look at Du Ji and sighed, "Mr. Qi, what you're doing will cause a big mess." "I know. When I decided to uphold justice, I knew it would be the hardest path. But someone has to do it, right?" Du Ji looked at the chaotic crowd and smiled faintly, "I don't believe that there are no good people in this world." Chu Yuanlang gave Du Ji a meaningful look, sighed lightly, and said no more. In the crowd, people from various sects looked at the crazed Du Ji and Wang San, their brows furrowed. An elder from the beggar's sect turned to a beggar beside him and ordered, "Huzi, send someone to check if there are any members of our sect who have been possessed by the heavenly demon. This guy is too evil. Once found, control them immediately." "Yes, elder." The beggar took the order and left. "Old Tang, you go back to the headquarters immediately and tell the gang leader what happened here." Then he turned to another older beggar and frowned, "I feel a change is coming." The same scene was happening among the people from the 3 gates and 5 sects who came to investigate. Du Ji claimed to uphold justice, but all they saw in him was madness and the uncontrollable nature of the heavenly demon. That day, many people rode fast horses from Liuyang City to all corners of the world, spreading the news. Feng Zhong, who was wearing a bamboo hat to cover his face, squeezed into the crowd. He looked at Du Ji and Wang San, who were stealing the limelight, with a mocking smile on his face, 2 fools, oblivious to their impending doom. Do they really think they can eliminate others with the help of a few locals? But this is good. With you two attracting attention, I don't have to run around. I can just stay in Liuyang City and reap the benefits. I can even add fuel to the fire, hee. The one who laughs last is the real winner." Chapter 37, Words of Right and Wrong. Du Ji was originally ranked first in the simulation field. He was the first to notice the Iron Palm Gang's night attack at Xingyu Tower. Later, he betrayed the Feng family and took over the Iron Palm Gang, single-handedly maintaining the people's hearts and justice in Liuyang City. His abilities have improved significantly. Nowadays, his senses are sharp. Even if he closes his eyes, he can still discern the situation around him by listening. On Earth, he would have no problem being a superhero. People from the Beggar's sect and Taishan sect have distinctive characteristics. Du Ji knew that he would have to deal with them sooner or later. He had been paying attention to them, observing their arrangements, and everything was within his expectations. What surprised him was that among the various noisy voices, he actually heard Feng Zhong talking to himself. "Wow! After betraying me, he didn't run away and dared to come and watch the show? Seems like criminals like to return to the scene of the crime to admire their achievements. Fine, you can watch, but if you hide and don't make a sound, I might not be able to find you. And you're even talking to yourself, you really are a chatterbox. Reaping the benefits? Dream on." Du Ji calmly glanced at Feng Zhong's location and immediately recognized him wearing a bamboo hat. But, looking at the people rushing over, shouting and complaining, and the flying dragon guards arresting the suspects, and then looking at Chu Filong and others who were staring at him, Du Ji hesitated. The situation on the scene was too complicated. Once he let go of Chu Yuan Lang, the stable situation he had worked so hard to achieve might collapse. But if he didn't capture Feng Zhong, who knows when he would appear again? From the way he spoke, it seemed like he had awakened some advanced skills. Capture him. In just a moment, Du Ji made a decision. If he missed this opportunity, he might not have another chance. Whether his keywords would be useful or not was another matter. Letting the tiger return to the mountain would bring endless trouble. Du Ji looked at Lu Hegu, who was still dissecting and searching for Wang San's heart, and called out, "Wang San, come and handle the case for me. I need to find a convenient place." Chu Filong, Lu Cheng and others held their breath. The opportunity had come. Wang San didn't suspect anything and walked over, holding a blood-stained knife in one hand and a still-beating heart in the other. He didn't say a word as he took over from Du Ji. He held the knife to Chu Yuan Lang's neck and then placed the heart neatly on the table. "Little baby, stay here for a while. I'll accompany you later." Du Ji smiled and looked at Chu Filong and the others, slowly removing the sword from Chu Yuan Lang's neck and warning, "Don't make any rash moves. Wang San's hands may not be as accurate as mine, but he is ruthless. If you provoke him, the head or fingers of the old gang leader might become his collection." Wang San smirked and licked his lips in cooperation. "Everyone, calm down. If you have any grievances, tell the person above. He looks terrifying, but he is kind-hearted. His thunderous methods are only aimed at the wicked. He is the guardian of the peacekeeping gang, King Kong." Du Ji used a gentle tone to appease the restless crowd as he walked towards the outskirts of the crowd. Chu Filong signaled to Lu Cheng, and Lu Cheng and several incense masters quietly blended into the peacekeeping gang's team. Du Ji could clearly see their movements from the corner of his eye and sneered disdainfully, slowly approaching Feng Zhong's direction. Du Ji didn't walk straight towards him. Feng Zhong calmly continued to watch the show. Wang San's attention was drawn to a group of people complaining, and he didn't notice Lu Cheng and the others' movements. But he saw everything clearly. Based on Feng Qi behavior, he could infer what kind of keyword he was. According to reason, maintenance was a supportive keyword and should not be suitable for combat. But he was able to single-handedly capture Chu Yuan Lang, which was not normal. Know yourself and your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Without alarming Feng Zhong, Du Ji walked straight out of the crowd. The gazes of the people followed him. Du Ji turned around and smiled, "Do you all want to watch too?" "I don't want to watch, I don't want to watch. Let the heavenly demon pee for a long life, pee until the heavens and earth collapse. A beautiful young woman can watch. After watching the heavenly demon, you can go back and hug a chubby child." Perhaps it was Du Ji's gentle tone, or maybe because he stood on the opposite side of the Iron Palm gang, the people became much bolder when facing him. They didn't see him as the heavenly demon at all and jokingly responded. But jokes aside, most people turned their bodies back. Feng Zhong also turned his head back. He had met Du Ji before, and at such a close distance, he was afraid of being recognized by Feng Qi. But just as he turned around, a gust of wind blew from behind him. He didn't have time to react, and his neck was already grabbed. Then, a cold blade was pressed against his neck, and Feng Qi's voice sounded, "Gotcha." Feng Zhong's heart sank, and he closed his eyes in pain. It's over. This guy's keyword is definitely not maintenance. Maintenance couldn't possibly have such a sharp offensive skill. Whoosh! The crowd dispersed. Lu Cheng and the others had planned to ambush Du Ji when he was convenient, but instead, they witnessed Feng Qi ambushing someone else. The speed that Feng Qi burst out with instantly changed their expressions. Their vision blurred, and Du Ji had already approached the person from behind. Even the fastest lightness skill in the martial world couldn't be this fast. At this moment, they suddenly understood why the gang leader, who had such great martial arts, couldn't avoid Feng Qi's sneak attack. Such a close distance, such a fast speed, I'm afraid only a martial saint like Xiao He could dodge it. Could they really launch a surprise attack on Feng Qi at this speed? It's more like a suicide mission. Du Ji didn't kill him on the spot, and a glimmer of hope rose in Feng Zhong's heart. He quickly said, "Brother Seven, let's talk it out. You need help, right? I can join in. I promise, I'll be more honest than Wang San. If the three of us team up, we can definitely eliminate everyone else." "What's your keyword?" Du Ji asked. "Manipulation, my keyword is manipulation." Feng Zhong had seen Feng Qi tactics against Wang San in Xingyu Tower, and since he had betrayed Feng Qi before, he lowered his voice in a bid to survive, straightforwardly revealing his keyword. Afraid that Du Ji wouldn't believe him, he even took the initiative to explain, "My awakened skill is the tongue of discord. Any news I spread will definitely arouse the other party's interest and they will seek to verify it. That's why Chu Yuanlang sent people to investigate Xingyu Tower immediately after receiving my message. Otherwise, how could the cunning Chu Yuanlang easily believe in something as elusive as the heavenly demon? Manipulation, to repeatedly fiddle with or show off with one's fingers, to flaunt, to incite." The meaning of manipulation flashed through Du Ji's mind, and the corner of his mouth twitched. A sickly adorable one, a gossip monger, and a glutton, it seemed like the simulation field didn't assign good keywords. Compared to them, his own keyword maintenance was indeed an excellent one. Otherwise, with just a backstabber, he really couldn't stir up such a big mess. "What role can you play?" Du Ji asked in a low voice. "I can lure the monsters." At the brink of life and death, Feng Zhong's mind was spinning rapidly. "Brother 7, my tongue of discord can quickly stir up chaos in the world, and your keyword is maintenance. The more chaotic the world, the better you can play your keyword." "That's useless. I can stir up chaos in the world by myself." Du Ji said, "It's safer to kill you. If you can betray me once, you can betray me a second time. Brother 7, it's useful, it's useful. The chaos you create is uncontrollable, and it attracts all the attention to you. My tongue of discord can adjust the pace and keep the chaos within our acceptable range." Feng Zhong said, "As for betrayal, you're wronging me. Back then, we didn't know each other, who wouldn't want to eliminate more competitors? It's human nature, and it's the rule of the simulation field." Du Ji was about to speak. Suddenly, the place where the trial was being held became chaotic, and the bold commoners who made money by appealing their grievances screamed and fled. Then, Wang San's hysterical voice rang out, "Old man, I love you so much, why did you do this to me, why did you betray me? Speak up, say something." Chapter 38, The Basic Disc has become. Du Ji looked up. Wang San's arm, holding the knife, was stained with blood, and the willow leaf knife had fallen to the ground. At this moment, he was crazily holding Chu Yuanlang's head, venting his emotions. With his intact hand, he tore open the bandages on Chu Yuanlang's wound and roughly scratched it. "Why? I clearly gave you a chance." Chu Yuanlang screamed in pain and struggled, his face full of fear, like a frightened child. He slapped Wang San's lower back with his palms, struggling incoherently, "No, let go of me, you demon, let me go." Chu Filong rushed towards Wang San with a knife to save his father. Seeing Chu Filong, Wang San's eyes turned red. He suddenly raised his hand and lifted Chu Yuanlang, blocking himself. He sneered, "Darling, do you want to kill me too?" Wang San was injured internally by Chu Yuanlang, and his mouth was full of blood. This terrifying appearance, combined with the fear of Jiao, frightened Chu Filong. His father was used as a shield by Wang San, and his hand involuntarily loosened. With a clang, the long knife fell to the ground. "No." Seeing the situation being ruined by Chu Filong, Du Ji became furious. He grabbed Feng Zhong's neck and launched a sudden stab from behind, rushing towards Chu Filong. Bang! With a single kick, he kicked Chu Filong more than 5 meters away. Blood sprayed in the air, and he fell to the ground, struggling for a few moments before falling into a coma, his life hanging by a thread. Affected by Jiao's fear and being torn by Wang San, Chu Yuanlang also fell into a coma, feeling both pain and fear. Seeing this scene, all the Iron Palm gang members who rushed to surround Wang San were stunned on the spot. They looked at Du Ji and Wang San in horror, trembling and dare not move or run. The common people who were shouting for justice dared not approach and watched from a distance. Du Ji let go of Feng Zhong's neck, walked over, took Chu Yuanlang from Wang San's hand, and raised him high. "To uphold justice, we must resort to thunderous means. Fellow villagers, don't be afraid. The Chu father and son who disturbed the order of our gathering have been captured by us." Chu Yuanlang is the former Iron Palm gang leader, a well-known top expert in the martial world. Now, he is like a rag in my hands, easily manipulated. Chu Filong has practiced martial arts for more than 30 years, but he can't even last one round against me. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid that these two useless people will rise again and dominate your fate? He was held at sword point by me, and you have reason to worry. But now, he is already half dead. What should you be afraid of? You should be afraid of your own lack of courage, afraid of the weakness of not daring to believe in justice. If I am here and you dare not save yourselves, who else in this world can save you? Fellow villagers, don't chill my righteous heart. Today, I will put away my sword and leave Chu Yuanlang here. Let's see who dares to come and save him. Come, those who have hatred and courage, come back and I will help you seek justice. Let us uphold justice to the end. Lu Cheng, stop pretending to be dead over there. Come and maintain order, and see if the Chu father and son can be saved. Without holding Chu Yuanlang at sword point, Du Ji's confidence suddenly rose. He threw Chu Yuanlang on the table and sat behind it confidently. What are you all standing there for? Line up, conduct the trial. From now on, there are no more elders. I am the gang leader of the peacekeeping gang. The former Iron Palm gang members who acted as constables were shocked by Du Ji's momentum. They quickly returned to their positions, holding short sticks at their eyebrows, and quickly restored order. Hanzhou and Chu Muqian took the opportunity to discuss countermeasures in Liuyang City and had not returned yet. Chu Filong's life was hanging by a thread. At the scene, there was only Lu Cheng left among the high-level members of the Iron Palm gang. He met Du Ji's gaze from a distance, and his heart trembled. He obediently walked back and knelt down in front of Du Ji, clasping his fists. Lu Cheng, the hall master of the peacekeeping gang's hidden dragon hall, greets the gang leader. He has surrendered. Du Ji's eyes lit up. Indeed, threats alone couldn't get things done. By keeping Chu Yuanlang around, it gave them a sense of control over the situation and left them with a glimmer of hope for a comeback. By cutting off their thoughts and leaving them with no way out, they could truly use this force for themselves. Wang San accidentally did a good thing. Of course, things change with time. Yesterday, he didn't have the power to suppress everything. Without Chu Yuanlang as a tool, he would have been dismembered by their random attacks. Spider-Man was right, the greater the power, the greater the influence. Good. Du Ji came out from behind the table and personally helped Lu Cheng up. You're right. What Iron Palm gang? From now on, there is only the peacekeeping gang. Lu Cheng, the peacekeeping gang was born for justice in the world. We don't need any flying dragon or hidden dragon. From this moment on, you are the hall master of the justice hall in the peacekeeping gang. Phew, Lu Cheng breathed a sigh of relief, knelt down again. I thank the gang leader for not holding grudges. From today on, I am willing to serve the gang leader, even if it costs me my life. No, not for me, but for justice, peace in the martial world. Du Ji helped him up again, raised his hand, and fervently said, let us devote ourselves to justice, peace, order, faith, ideals, and all the good things we can uphold, even if it costs us our lives. How awkward! At that moment, a hint of regret flashed through Lu Cheng's mind, but at this point, he had no choice but to force a smile. Yes, gang leader. The sudden change scared the people. Even though Du Ji quickly took control of the situation, the people were still watching, not daring to come over. Du Ji simply ignored them and turned his attention to the members of the Iron Palm gang. I know many of you have made mistakes and are worried about my punishment. But no one is perfect, and in the corrupt environment of the Iron Palm gang, it's inevitable that you were influenced. Who is born evil? Most of you, because of the way of the world. If you don't bully others, others will bully you. Over time, you've gone astray, but it's not your fault. So, I've decided to give you a chance to reform. Unless your crimes are extremely heinous, I will try to use money to compensate for the harm you've caused to the victims. But I hope that you will strive for righteousness in the future, be a truly good person who is respected by others, not one who is despised. The former members of the Iron Palm gang were in a stir, whispering to each other. Well said. Someone in the crowd shouted. Then, the whole day's shouts of approval and applause merged into one. Du Ji raised his hand high, then put it down, and the scene returned to silence. He looked around at the members of the Iron Palm gang. I know what you're worried about. You're afraid that you won't have enough to eat if you follow me. But I am the heavenly demon, and I don't care about money. Besides, the vast wealth of the Iron Palm gang wasn't earned by me. I can assure you that as long as you sincerely support the peacekeeping gang, everyone's previous salary will be doubled. He paused. You help me uphold justice, and I will protect you, ensuring your safety and livelihood. As soon as he said this, the members of the Iron Palm gang who hadn't committed many evil deeds were quickly swayed, and soon someone stood up, gang leader, I am willing to join the peacekeeping gang and serve you. I am also willing to serve the gang leader. I am willing to. More and more people stood up. The situation was stronger than people. They were not Chu Yuan Lang, they didn't have his foresight, nor were they the hall masters or incense masters above, they didn't have much savings. Without the Iron Palm gang, they had nowhere to go. Feng Qi promised to pardon their crimes and increase their salaries. Why not stay here? Isn't it the same to work for anyone? Du Ji swept over the crowd, his face smiling. Good, good, good. I knew that most people have a sense of justice, they just lack an opportunity. Lu Cheng, after today's public trial, re-register everyone. Chapter 39, Eve of the Storm. Du Ji quickly stabilized the situation of the Iron Palm gang by using both kindness and force. Last night, the doctor was called again to diagnose the injuries of the old gang leader and his son. While diagnosing, the doctor muttered, if this continues, they will be ruined. Why not take care of their own bodies? Du Ji approached the doctor and asked, Doctor, can you still save Chu gang leader? Chu gang leader is physically strong, so he can be saved, but it will take at least 2 years of rest for him to recover. The doctor looked at Du Ji with a hint of fear in his eyes, but still honestly said, even if he is saved, the old gang leader's martial arts will not be able to fully recover. We must save him with all our efforts. Without the old gang leader, there would be no current peacekeeping gang. Feng Qi is not an evil person, he upholds justice in the world and would not commit such heinous acts of killing and robbing. The old gang leader misunderstood me. Du Ji looked at Chu Yuan Lang with regret and bowed to the doctor, saying, Doctor, we must save the old gang leader. I want him to see that the Iron Palm gang he worked so hard to establish has not disbanded, but only changed its name. And under my protection, it will become more prosperous. How can you say such false words with a straight face? Saving them is to restrain Chu Yuan Lang's children. The doctor's eyes twitched involuntarily a few times, sighed helplessly. Although he saw through everything, as a doctor, the most important thing to live long is to not meddle in matters that shouldn't be meddled with. So, he lowered his head to deal with the injuries of Chu Yuan Lang and his son, saying, I will do it. On the other side, Lu Cheng ordered people to bring boxes of gold and silver. Opening the lids, the shiny treasures were displayed in front of everyone. The Iron Palm gang, controlling the transportation, was never short of money. Money can make the devil turn the millstone, money can make people cry injustice. Throughout history, being wronged has always led to the destruction of others, and it has never been seen as a way to become rich. But in this world, the common people have long been oppressed. Except for those who have deep hatred like the crippled old man before, for others, money is the best thing that can heal all wounds. Moreover, Du Ji, who made decisive decisions, publicly admitted that he is the leader of the peacekeeping gang. Obviously, he is not just seeking fame and leaving. He also gave them a great reassurance. The people who were scared away just now swarmed back, and there were even more of them than before. Du Ji happily resumed his role as the leader of the peacekeeping gang, distributing gold and silver to the victims, enjoying the benefits brought by the peacekeeping gang. Old Yuan, did you see clearly? Elder Qi of the beggars sect asked the middle-aged beggar beside him, what kind of body technique did Feng Qi use to kick Chu Filong away? The beggar named Old Yuan had been paying attention to Du Ji all along, and he shook his head, Elder Ding, even with your eyesight, you couldn't see clearly, let alone me. My eyes blurred, and he was already gone. I'm afraid he's a demon. Fortunately, he chose the Iron Palm gang. Otherwise, with his skills, except for you, Elder, no one in our Liuyang City branch could escape his deadly hands. You overestimate me. Even Chu Yuan Lang fell into his hands. How could I possibly defeat him? Elder Ding's face was particularly solemn, but also extremely fortunate, he doesn't even care about our small branch. It's also possible that he has concerns. After all, we are the largest gang in the world. If he really provokes us, even if he's surrounded by people, we can still crush him. Old Yuan said. The Iron Palm gang has many people. Can we really crush him? Elder Ding snorted, Chu Yuan Lang's life and death are uncertain, and without a leader, the Iron Palm gang has changed its face with just a few words from him. His martial arts have reached a level where it can't be defeated by numbers alone. I used to be unsure whether they were heavenly demons or not, but now I'm about 70–80% sure. That's right. Normal people can't do such things. Feng Qi companion who manipulates people's hearts is like a madman. Old Yuan said, and Feng Qi, don't just look at him buying people's hearts, but his actions are also unreasonable. When the martial Saint Jiao in his rise, he made friends with the martial arts sects, but he helped the common people. What benefits can he gain from that? Can these ordinary people help him in a crisis? I'm afraid only his claim of maintaining peace can explain everything he does. He wants to be the emperor, but he must first obtain the support of the 3 gates and 5 sects. Feng Qi attribute is maintenance. What about the madman who manipulates people's hearts? Elder Ding said, and who is the person he wants to catch even if he has to let go of Chu Yuan Lang? He should also be a heavenly demon. Old Yuan, we know too little about heavenly demons. Find someone to investigate the Feng family and find out what these heavenly demons are. I understand. Old Yuan nodded and left with his dog beating stick. After thinking for a moment, Elder Ding walked towards the person in charge of the Taishan sect. With the drastic changes in the Iron Palm Gang, whether Feng Qi is a true heavenly demon or not, he felt that this fire would sooner or later burn on his head, so he needed to discuss with the person in charge of the sect stationed in Liuyang City and prepare in advance. Liuyang City. Chu Muqian and Hanzhou quickly learned about what happened in the Iron Palm Gang. Upon learning that Chu Yuanlang was seriously injured again, Chu Muqian's face turned pale, and she staggered, gritting her teeth and saying, "More harm than good." Han. Zhou remained silent. "Master Han, can I trust you?" Chu Muqian steadied her emotions and looked at Hanzhou. "Miss, my life was saved by the old gang leader. It's not something that can be disrupted by Du Ji's instigation," Hanzhou said. "Whatever you command, just say it. Even if I have to risk my life, I will bring the old gang leader back. My father and elder brother are in Feng Qi hands. If we go back, we'll be walking into a trap." Chu Muqian steadied her emotions and said, "Fi Peng and Hall Master Yan were sent by my elder brother to the Feng family to gather information. They should be returning soon. You go and intercept them on the way, don't let them return to the Iron Palm Gang. After you meet up, try to intercept Hall Master Lu and Hall Master Li, especially Fi Bao. Fi Bao is impulsive, I'm afraid he'll rush to save my father and fall into Feng Qi hands. The gang has few people, as long as we control the external forces, Feng Qi won't be able to continue eroding the Iron Palm Gang. This way, we still have a chance to fight." "I understand." Hanzhou nodded, then asked, "And you, miss?" "I'll go to the Divine Fist sect to seek help from Sect Master Ren. He and my father are old friends. With his help, the chances of rescuing my father are greater," Chu Muqian said. "Before I return, no matter what Feng Qi does, you all must not interfere, let him make a fuss. Remember, you must wait for me to return." Hanzhou hesitated for a moment, but, the old gang leader. Chu Muqian bit her lip lightly and glanced in the direction of the Iron Palm Gang. "Before Feng Qi takes control of the entire Iron Palm Gang, he won't let my father die. Just do as I say." The two discussed some details, then left the gang members in the city and went their separate ways. Not to mention Chu Muqian who went to seek reinforcements. Let's talk about Hanzhou. There was only one official road from the Feng family to Liuyang City. He had just left Liuyang City and hadn't walked 10 miles when he intercepted Chu Fipeng and others who were rushing back from the Feng family. Not only did they return, but they also brought back Feng Shiren and other key members of the Feng family. Feng Shiren and others had their acupoints pressed and were stuffed into a carriage, all of them looking dejected, as if they had lost their loved ones. Feng Zhu, on the other hand, was sitting in the carriage eating and drinking heartily, wishing he could burst his belly, and had no time to talk. Chapter 40, Feng Qi must die. "Master Han, how is my father?" Seeing Hanzhou coming on horseback, Chu Filong hurriedly grabbed the reins and asked anxiously. "Feng Qi is conducting a public trial outside Liuyang City. The eldest son wanted to save the old gang leader, but ended up being seriously injured by Feng Qi." Hanzhou also pulled the reins and stopped, briefly explaining the situation of the Iron Palm Gang to Chu Fipeng. After listening, Chu Fipeng's eyes were filled with anger, and he gritted his teeth. "They have gone too far. If I don't tear him to pieces, I, Chu Fipeng, will not be a human." Inside the carriage, Feng Xiai, who heard about the changes in the Iron Palm Gang, regretted it even more. He sighed deeply and muttered to himself, "Peacekeeping gang, peacekeeping vanguard. Feng Qi has finally reached this point. He really did it. He didn't deceive anyone, and I don't know if he still remembers the favor of the Feng family. He came from the demon realm, born through body possession. He has nothing to do with your Feng family. Even if he is the real Feng Qi, you beat him half to death and still ignore him, expecting him to be grateful. Feng Zhu glanced at Feng Xiai and sneered. He took a water bag and washed down the meat in his mouth, burped satisfied, temporarily stopped eating, and continued to mock. Have you ever thought about who brought you to this point? You were all fooled by Feng Qi few words. Little mice want to swallow the world without considering whether you have the appetite for it. The current situation is entirely your own fault. In the end, the Feng family is just a springboard for Feng Qi. Feng Zhu, stop talking nonsense. Feng Xiai angrily said. Feng Qi risked his life to protect the Feng family. I saw it with my own eyes. We ended up in this situation because of Feng Zhong. I believe in Feng Qi. He will definitely save us. Feng Shiren glanced at everyone and remained silent. He. Feng Zhu laughed disdainfully, too lazy to pay attention to this group of fools in front of him. He took a digestion pill and listened to the conversation outside for a while. He reached out and lifted the curtain of the carriage, and said loudly, Hall Masters, your methods are wrong. Feng Qi power has already grown, and his attributes are unknown. Chu Gang leader is in his hands. Your methods cannot defeat him. Who is he? Hanzhou asked. The other heavenly demon of the Feng family, called Feng Zhu, with the attribute of glutton. Yan Wu turned his head and glanced at Feng Zhu, saying, We have already verified that giving him enough food will infinitely enhance his strength. From morning till now, he has been eating non-stop, eating and then going to the toilet, and his stomach has burst several times, but he is unharmed, and his strength has at least doubled. If it weren't for him, we could have returned half an hour earlier. We brought him to deal with Feng Qi because Feng Qi tricked him once in the Feng family. Glutton? Looking at Feng Zhu, whose white clothes were stained with grease, Hanzhou frowned instinctively, but quickly concealed his disgust and clasped his fists, saying, Mr. Zhu, how are our methods wrong? Feng Zhu had experienced betrayal and tortured himself madly. His determination was firm, and he didn't care about other people's gazes. He smiled and said, As heavenly demons, we rely on our own attributes to grow. Feng Qi is now making a big show in Liuyang City, and his words and actions are in line with his attributes. The greater the impact, the faster his strength grows. It can be said that his strength is increasing every moment. By the time you come up with a countermeasure and bring reinforcements, his strength may have reached an unimaginable level. Maybe by then, you won't even need to use Chu Yuanlang to threaten him. With his strength alone, he can defeat all of you. When he was in the Feng family, he had wanted to overthrow the theory of heavenly demons and completely deny Feng Qi from the root. But his virtual world theory couldn't convince Feng Xiai and the others. The theory of heavenly demons had already taken root in their hearts. So, he decided to follow the theory of heavenly demons and trick Feng Qi at a critical moment. Mr. Zhu, how should we deal with him then? Hanzhou remembered what happened later and his expression changed as he asked. To weaken him, we need to destroy his attributes, just like stopping me from eating. Feng Zhu's secret couldn't be hidden anymore, so he broke the jar. If he wants to maintain, you should go and destroy his efforts to maintain, let people realize that his maintenance is ineffective or even counterproductive, and his attributes will naturally weaken. Didn't he give money to those victims? You can wear the clothes of the peacekeeping gang, snatch the money back, and threaten those victims not to speak out. After doing it a few times, Liuyang City will be filled with anger, and no one will believe in the peace and righteousness he upholds. Mr. Zhu, are you serious? Chu Fipeng's eyes lit up and he asked. You've already tested it on me. Feng Zhu laughed, we are of the same kind. It's unreasonable that the attribute only works on me and not on him. We can give it a try. Hanzhou looked at the people around him and said, Feng Qi doesn't have enough manpower to manage such a large Liuyang city. This task should be simple. All right. Chu Fipeng said. However, you must be prepared for failure. Feng Zhu said. Why? Hanzhou asked. Because I highly suspect that Feng Qi keyword is not maintenance. Maintenance is just an illusion he created. Feng Zhu stopped smiling and said seriously, the heavenly demon is good at disguising. Revealing his keyword is like exposing his weakness to the public. In the Feng family, Feng Qi unscrupulously betrayed me and the Feng family he was supposed to protect. Yet his attribute didn't weaken at all, but instead became stronger. This is very abnormal. Maintenance might just be his disguise, aiming to cover his real keyword. Everyone looked at each other. Hanzo asked, according to Mr. Zhu's guess, what is his attribute? It's very likely to be deception. Feng Zhu said, he deceived me, the Feng family, and the people of Liuyang City under the name of maintenance, which can also achieve the purpose of rapid growth. He glanced at Feng Xiai and said, as long as people are still being deceived by him, deeply believing his lies, his attribute will not weaken. If his attribute is indeed deception, the method Mr. Zhu just mentioned can also work. Hanzo said, by taking back the wealth he distributed, people's trust in him will naturally disappear. If only it were that simple, Feng Zhu sighed in his heart. Maintaining peace and everything else are trivial matters. The most critical thing is the heavenly demon theory he spread, which is the highest means of deception. It's easy to spread rumors but hard to refute them. It's too difficult to eliminate the influence of the heavenly demon theory. You hall masters can certainly give it a try. After all, there's no loss for us. Feng Zhu smiled, however, only a heavenly demon can deal with another heavenly demon. The best method is still to find more heavenly demons, cultivate them with compatible attributes, and then use them to deal with Feng Qi. He has exposed the secrets of the heavenly demon, equivalent to a traitor of the demon realm. I don't know how many heavenly demons hate him to death. Feng Zhu never believed that Du Ji's keyword was maintenance, nor did he believe that these guys in front of him could deal with the cunning Feng Qi. He must make more preparations. He can't break the heavenly demon theory by himself. But with more candidates joining, it will be much easier to refute the theory once everyone grows up. Of course, maybe by then, they won't need to refute the theory and can just kill him directly. Feng Zhu had been tricked by Du Ji from the beginning. He finally showed some kindness, only to be betrayed again. Meanwhile, Feng Qi was thriving. His jealousy had long surged from his feet to the top of his head. At this moment, there was only one thought left in Feng Zhu's mind: he could lose in the simulation field, but Feng Qi must die. Chapter 41, Riding on the Popularity and Traffic. Night fell. Du Ji announced the end of the public trial. Although the aggrieved people who did not receive the money had regrets, they could only gradually return to the city. In this world, the concept of class is deeply rooted in people's hearts. Even if they had 10 times the courage, they would not dare to disturb the Heavenly Demon Lord's rest. The Heavenly Demon Lord has a good heart, but he is truly capable of killing. The reputation of the peacekeeping vanguard also spread rapidly in Liuyang City along with Du Ji's generous distribution of silver coins. The Heavenly Demon Feng Qi is a good person, the guardian of the people. For a while, word of mouth spread and the reputation soared. Du Ji's reputation reached its peak in Liuyang City in just one day, and his comprehensive attributes almost tripled. Now, his frontal attack speed and agility are almost comparable to the speed of assassinating Chu Yunlang from behind. As for the sudden backstab, it goes without saying. It can be said that within 10 meters, his backstab can achieve the effect of a flash. In this low martial world, no one can escape. Late at night, the peacekeeping vanguard was quiet. From last night until now, the former members of the Iron Palm Gang have been tormented by Du Ji, barely getting any sleep. After the public trial ended, they couldn't hold on any longer and gradually fell asleep. Even Lu Cheng, who had high martial arts skills, couldn't help but yawn. The emperor also had evil soldiers. Seeing this scene, Du Ji let everyone rest. In the vast Iron Palm Gang, the sound of snoring echoed, and only some servants and 3 heavenly demons were still active. Du Ji, ranked first in comprehensive ranking, spiritual power 100, total number of people in the simulation field 576. After opening his personal information and taking a look, Du Ji looked at the empty Iron Palm Gang and sighed helplessly, there are too few people I can use. Brother Qi, I can be of use. Feng Zhong accompanied him with a smiling face, I still have the energy to support, just give me your orders. For Brother Qi cause, I can go through fire and water. I don't care about ranking, I just want to experience the life in the simulation field. Feng Zhong had been accompanying Du Ji in handling the cases all day, and he didn't dare to run away until now. He finally had the opportunity to speak, fearing that Du Ji still had the intention to kill him. He expressed his loyalty as soon as he opened his mouth. Brother Qi, kill him. The more people in the team, the more uncontrollable it becomes. It's enough for me to assist you by your side. Wang San covered his forehead with his hair, slightly lowered his head, and his voice sounded sinister. He also held a broken plate in his hand, Just like Du Ji, his attributes skyrocketed today, ranking second on the leaderboard. He knew very well who was in first place. Before, he exposed the keywords to Du Ji, putting the two of them in the spotlight, which caused some dissatisfaction. But in just one day, his attributes soared, and he became the runner-up in the simulation field, taking advantage of the situation. Naturally, he didn't want others to ruin his bright future. Haven't you heard Brother Chi say that we don't have enough people? What can a sickly adorable person like you do besides scaring people? Feng Zhong said unwillingly, can you control the overall situation? If I hadn't sent a letter to Chu Yuanlang, arousing his interest in the heavenly demon, you would still be looking for other heavenly demons in Xingyu Tower. How could you cause such a big commotion and progress so quickly in strength? Are you provoking me? Wang San smirked and suddenly turned towards Feng Zhong, his gaze sharp as a knife. Swoosh! Feng Zhong hid behind Du Ji, warning, I warn you, don't use your skills on me. Brother Qi didn't kill me, if you use your skills on me and ruin Brother Qi good things, Brother Qi won't spare you. Chu Yuanlang and his son were saved by the doctor halfway through. After they woke up and saw Wang San, they trembled with fear, their eyes flickering. Feng Zhong naturally didn't want Wang San's skills to fall on him. Then he would truly be unable to accomplish anything. Worthless. Wang San sneered, retracting his gaze. He acknowledged Du Ji's leadership, naturally not daring to overstep. Although his attributes soared, he felt that he still couldn't escape Feng Qi's sudden backstab. His speed was too fast. Brother Qi, in a few days, the reputation of the peacekeeping vanguard will spread to the ears of every examinee. Feng Zhong said, it's easy to dodge an open spear, but hard to guard against a hidden arrow. No one knows what keywords others have. To maintain the current situation, the best way is to strike quickly and not give them time to react and grow, and eliminate them. He paused and asked, Boss, you should be ranked first now, right? Du Ji glanced at him, before he could speak, Wang San already said, can you find out Brother Qi ranking? Anyone with a little brain can guess, right? After causing such a big commotion in 2 days, if he's not in first place, then it's unreasonable. Feng Zhong impatiently glared at Wang San, you perverted freak, can you shut up for a bit? Do you understand strategy? Let him speak. Du Ji said. Lu Cheng and the others didn't have the energy to support, and Chu Muqian and Hanzhou haven't returned since they entered the city. Who knows what they are up to behind the scenes? The current Iron Palm gang only had a little over 400 people, and the only skilled ones were Lu Cheng, but his martial arts skills were similar to Feng Xiai. Before, Du Ji's plan to establish the peacekeeping vanguard was gradual, accumulating like-minded people step by step. But with Feng Zhong's interference, the situation suddenly expanded. There were too few people he could use. Even if his energy was vigorous, he couldn't possibly do everything himself. Feng Zhong's suggestion of striking quickly was a method, but it was extremely difficult to truly implement. After all, this world was too big. Brother. 7. The names of the top 10 in the simulation field are only made public once a month. You might be feeling good now, but you've essentially exposed your ranking prematurely, Feng Zhong said. Moreover, you've disrupted everyone's covered growth, making yourself a target. No one will sit by and watch you rise. After all, taking you down means they can directly replace your ranking. And your keyword is maintenance. He chuckled, of course, I know that's your disguise, but there will always be someone who can deduce your real keyword from your actions. When that time comes, you'll definitely be targeted. Even if they can't figure it out, they can find out through trial and error. Especially since you've exposed the heavenly demon, there will always be smart people who will, like you, leverage the power of the natives. The names of the top 10 in the simulation field will be made public a month later? Shrinking the circle? From Feng Zhong's words, Du Ji gleaned a more important piece of information. No wonder he had previously thought that the world was so vast, and it was too easy to hide a few hundred people among tens of millions. How could competitiveness be reflected if everyone just focused on their own growth? So there was such a mechanism in place. After a month of growth, the top 10 would become glaring targets, targeted by everyone. Anyone with the ambition to compete for the ranking would see killing the top 10 and replacing them as a shortcut to growth. And in the later stages, when there were fewer people, the battles would become more intense. MBD. Not understanding the rules could be deadly. Fortunately, he had a backstabbing cover, and these people were influenced by inertia thinking, not considering maintenance as his real keyword. Otherwise, he would really be in trouble. Du Ji's head ached a bit. But on second thought, even if he knew the rules, would he not compete for the top 10? After all, he had one more keyword than others, which naturally gave him an advantage. It was too easy for him to become one of the top 10. There was almost no difference for him between being exposed now and being exposed a month later. Developing in advance could rapidly boost his attributes. Facing a bunch of weaklings who hadn't grown yet was much better than facing a bunch of old silver coins who had grown for a month. Thinking this way, Du Ji felt relieved. Feng Zhong's voice continued, "At this time, we need my tongue of right and wrong. We can get all the sects busy, even attract the masters of the sects, recruit them one by one, or kill them. In this way, our power will grow larger and larger, making it impossible for others to use the natives." Tongue of right and wrong? What a tongue of right and wrong! This one really had persuasive power. Du Ji glanced at Feng Zhong. "What's your ranking now?" Feng Zhong chuckled, looking somewhat proud. "Thanks to Brother 7, I stirred up the situation between you and the Iron Palm gang. I've managed to stir up the overall situation, and now I'm ranked 9th in the simulation field, barely making it into the top 10. Damn!" Du Ji cursed. He had worked hard to become the first in the simulation field, while this one had just written a letter and rode the wave into the top 10. It was so damn unfair. Lucky bastard! Wang San muttered, clearly dissatisfied with Feng Zhong's sneaky entry into the top 10. "What's your ranking?" Du Ji asked Wang San. "Thanks to Brother 7, I'm second in the simulation field, barely making it into the top 3. Wang San glanced at Feng Zhong, deliberately announcing his ranking to annoy Feng Zhong. Damn! Feng Zhong's eyes widened. "You're the lucky bastard. Without Brother 7, your disgusting keyword would have gotten you burned to death as soon as you showed up. How could you have grown so fast? One was second, the other was 9th. Du Ji suddenly laughed. "All right, stop arguing. We're all in the top 10 now, tied together. A month from now, no one can escape. We might as well work together and think about how to protect our rankings." Chapter 42, Fishing with a Hook. With just one sentence from Du Ji, Feng Zhong knew that he had been accepted. He couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. "Brother 7, what are your plans next?" "I will fully cooperate. Should we first use Chu Yuanlang to lure back the Iron Palm Gang's hall masters? I can write a notice in Liuyang City, saying that Chu Yuanlang is dying and wants to see the hall masters before he dies. As long as this news reaches their ears, no matter how far away they are, they will come to verify it on their own initiative. This guy's advanced skills are too bug. He is truly a catalyst. Without his help, it would be easy for this guy to grow. No wonder he said he wanted to add some fire in Liuyang City. However, his weaknesses should be in attack and defense. Once his identity is exposed and he becomes a target, the possibility of him being killed is too high. The faster he grows, the easier it is for others to use him as a scapegoat. It's quite challenging to grasp the keywords in the simulation field." Du Ji glanced at him and said, "Okay." Wang San said, "Brother 7, you can't fully trust what he says. He can attract monsters, but he can't control their size. He can attract the hall masters of the Iron Palm Gang, but we don't know how many people they will bring, how they will come, and when they will come. The uncertainty is too high. We can't be on guard day and night. I can add a date to the notice." Feng Zhong stared at Wang San and said discontentedly, "Wang San, we are a team. Can't you stop targeting me all the time? I just prepared some black dog blood for you. I didn't really pour it on you. If it were someone else, they would have killed you as soon as they found out your identity. Chu Yuanlang is here, and Hanzhou and the others may not be reliable, but Chu Muqian and the others are Chu Yuanlang's children. They will definitely not be far away. It will take some time to bring reinforcements. If you have any better suggestions, just say it. No one is stopping you." Wang San opened his mouth but didn't say anything. He turned around silently to bandage his severed hand. His skills mainly focused on intimidation and explosive power, and they didn't have much effect on the overall situation. "We can also write a notice saying that Chu Yuanlang has discovered who the heavenly demon is within the Iron Palm Gang." Du Ji ignored the bickering between the two and planned to make full use of Feng Zhong's skills. A small Feng family has infiltrated 4 candidates into a huge Iron Palm Gang. I don't believe that none of them are the heavenly demon. Good idea. Feng Zhong said, yes, if the keywords are useful, keep them. If not, get rid of them. We can't let these guys lurk around us. I think we can expand the scope to the entire Liuyang city and say that we have a list of suspected heavenly demons lurking in Liuyang city. We don't need that for now. Du Ji looked at Feng Zhong and shook his head. If we release a list of suspected heavenly demons, it won't necessarily attract candidates, but rather personnel from various major factions who are investigating. The real candidates don't need to come by themselves. They can find someone else to investigate and verify the truth. If they have some clever means, they won't expose themselves at all. We need to take it step by step and be cautious. Brother Seven is right. Feng Zhong chuckled, I was too impatient. That night, after Du Ji and the others discussed the follow-up matters, they frightened Chu Yuan Lang with Wang San's help and easily obtained the martial arts secrets of the Iron Palm Gang. The remaining time was spent on practicing martial arts. The increase in attributes did improve their combat power, but the participants in the simulation field also had the ability to increase their own attributes. At this time, martial arts could play a decisive role. With the same attributes, the one who practices martial arts will always win when they meet someone who doesn't. Moreover, attributes can be weakened when targeted, but martial arts cannot. In critical moments, martial arts can turn the tide. Furthermore, with the improved body after the attributes were enhanced, as long as they understood the meridians and acupoints, practicing martial arts would be twice as effective. Therefore, in the simulation field, any competitive participant would use every means to enhance their strength. The Iron Palm Gang's two most famous martial arts are Iron Sand Palm and the lightness skill 8 steps to catch the cicada obtained from the Chiao family's holy land. Similar to the Feng family's broken gold and shattered jade hand, Iron Sand Palm is also an external skill that cultivates internal energy from the outside. It also requires auxiliary methods such as sand insertion to temper the palms and the use of medicinal power to maintain the palms. The cultivation process is quite long and complicated, so Du Ji naturally abandoned it. He focused more on the lightness skill 8 steps to catch the cicada. 8 steps to catch the cicada is not only a lightness skill but also includes techniques. For example, in the first move, the leg is raised more than 1 zhang high to attack the opponent's head with a kick. If it misses, another kick is used. It contains both real and false moves, with complex variations, which can indeed increase Du Ji's combat power. However, for the current Du Ji, the increase is limited. First, his internal energy is not enough to support him in jumping more than 1 zhang high. Second, he has the ability to jump up and rush over to pierce the opponent with his fists. But having something is better than having nothing. Du Ji was practicing the technique of 8 steps to catch cicadas, but his mind was pondering on finding a suitable internal energy method for himself. Compared to external martial arts and lightness skills, internal energy was evidently more beneficial to him. Most lightness skills also required the support of internal energy. The next day, at dawn, just as the sky was beginning to brighten, Du Ji and his two companions were still practicing their martial arts. Lu Cheng, the newly appointed hall master of the Hall of Justice, had already taken the initiative to pay a visit. Seeing Lu Cheng, Du Ji stopped his technique and smiled, "Master Lu, you're up quite early." Lu Cheng saluted with a fist and respectfully said, "Gang leader, the peacekeeping gang is newly established, and there are many affairs to handle. I dare not oversleep. Sleeping a bit more won't hurt." Du Ji chuckled, "You guys are different from us. Only with enough rest can you be more efficient in your work." Looking at the energetic Du Ji and his companions, Lu Cheng sighed at the abundant energy of the heavenly demon and laughed, "The gang leader is a heavenly demon, I naturally dare not compare with you. But matters cannot be delayed. It won't kill me to sleep a little less." He paused for a moment, then continued, "Gang leader, yesterday Chu Muqian and Hanzhou did not return. They must have learned about the situation here and either fled for safety or went to get reinforcements. The old gang leader and the sect leader of the Divine Fist sect, Tong Shihong, are old friends. Tong Shihong is a top-notch master of this era. His Overlord Fist technique is superb, and his martial arts skills are far superior to the old gang leader. Please make preparations early, gang leader. The properties outside of the Iron Palm Gang should also be reclaimed as soon as possible. If too much time passes, there may be unexpected changes." Yesterday, Lu Cheng publicly acknowledged Feng Qi as the gang leader, cutting off his own retreat. For his own safety, he had to plan wholeheartedly for Du Ji. The thought of the consequences of Du Ji's failure made him unable to sleep even if he wanted to. I already have a plan. Du Ji glanced at him and nodded. He pointed to the announcement that Feng Zhong had written earlier. Later, you post this announcement. To ward off external threats, we must first secure our internal affairs. We have to find the heavenly demon within the peacekeeping gang first, then make other plans. Today, there should still be many people coming to seek redress for their grievances. I plan to establish a hall of grievances within the gang. From now on, Wang San will be responsible for handling wrongful cases and various injustices. You find a few incense masters to assist him. Yes. Lu Cheng nodded, went over to pick up the announcement that Feng Zhong had written. After seeing the content, he couldn't help but be stunned. Gang leader, since you already know who the heavenly demon is, why not directly capture him? Why write such an announcement? It's the old gang leader who knows, not me. Du Ji said, after the old gang leader told me yesterday, he fell into a coma again. The reason I wrote this announcement is to intimidate the heavenly demon within the gang and see if I can trick him out. Why not wait for the old gang leader to wake up and ask him directly? Lu Cheng said, why go through all this trouble and risk startling the snake in the grass? Look at the second announcement. Du Ji pointed to the paper below. Lu Cheng looked at the second announcement, his face changed, and he said in a trembling voice, is the old gang leader on his deathbed? Du Ji sighed, the old gang leader's injuries are too severe, I'm afraid he doesn't have much time left. We are the peacekeeping gang, we must maintain the dignity of a dying man. It's not good to pressure him too much. Post that announcement in Liuyang City. The old gang leader's last wish is to see his children. We will try our best to fulfill his request. Your fishing tactic is too obvious. Only a fool would fall for it. Lu Cheng was silent for a moment, feeling that he couldn't always slap the new gang leader's face. He braced himself and said, the gang leader is indeed unparalleled in benevolence and righteousness. Chapter 43, Joint Defense. Is there really a heavenly demon in the gang? It must be fake. The characteristics of the heavenly demon are so obvious, how could it hide for 2 days without being discovered? I also think the old gang leader is lying. He was tortured by Feng Qi so badly. If there really is a heavenly demon lurking, he wouldn't reveal it until he ruins Feng Qi plan in the future. If he reveals it now, it must be fake. Be careful what you say. Don't let the new gang leader hear it. I didn't say anything bad about the gang leader. What's there to be afraid of? I think the old gang leader feels that he's not capable anymore, so he made up a story to negotiate with the new gang leader, asking the new gang leader to save him, or like the other announcement said, to see a few children before he dies. A group of gang members from the peacekeeping gang were pointing and discussing under the announcement, exchanging their opinions. In the crowd, a young man in his 20s appeared calm on the surface, but his heart was in turmoil. Is it true or not? He has been so low-key, how could he be discovered? Are they trying to deceive me? No, I have to leave. No, I can't leave. If I leave, it will expose me. If Feng Qi dares to do this, he must have planted spies within the gang. If there is any abnormality, I will definitely be killed. Why is it so difficult to live a peaceful life? Xiao Zhou, what's wrong with you? Someone bumped into his shoulder and asked with a smile, you haven't said a word for a long time. Could it be that you've been possessed by the heavenly demon? If I were possessed by the heavenly demon, I would have joined the gang leader long ago and enjoyed a good life. Why would I still be with you bunch of scoundrels? Xiao Zhou said, I'm thinking about who might be suspicious around me. If I report it, maybe I can gain some credit with the gang leader. Damn, you're quite smart. Come on, let's think carefully. Who has been acting differently these past 2 days? Let's report it to the gang leader together. I heard that the heavenly demon mostly possesses the old, weak, sick, and disabled. The gang leader is generous, and there will definitely be a reward. The person's eyes lit up and said excitedly. I was just joking. Are you really going to report it? If the heavenly demon finds out, it will stab you. Xiao Zhou smiled. I was joking too. We're all brothers. How can we do such dirty things like reporting behind each other's backs? The person smirked and brushed it off, obviously not taking Xiao Zhou's words to heart. Xiao Zhou knew it well and didn't try to persuade him anymore. There were already too many informants. He would find a chance to investigate the old gang leader's situation and see if he was deceiving him. It would be clear at a glance. Du Jie and Feng Zhong were eating and chatting while occasionally glancing at the room where Chu Yuanlang and his son were recuperating, to see if there were any suspicious people going to investigate. "Brother Qi, where are you from?" Feng Zhong asked. "What do you mean by where are you from?" Du Jie asked back. "You have a calm attitude towards food, and you are skilled in disguising keywords. I don't believe you came from an elite academy." Feng Zhong said, "There are a total of 3,000 people in this simulation field, gathered from 6 civilian schools and 2 elite schools. Maybe we are from the same school. Even if we are not from the same school, we can find out by asking around. This time, both of us made it into the top 10. Tell me your name, and after we leave, I will find you. Then we can enter the alien star battlefield together, a strong alliance. I'm from a civilian school. You don't need to find me. After leaving the exam room, I won't recognize anyone." Du Jie said. "Brother Qi, you are too cautious." Feng Zhong laughed. "As long as you have the highest score in the simulation field and become famous, it will be difficult not to be recognized. Let's make a deal. I will find you then. I'm only temporarily in the first place. I may not be able to maintain it until the end." Du Jie stopped speaking suddenly. "What's wrong?" Feng Zhong asked. "The dish tastes bitter." Du Jie spat out the food in his mouth, stood up and said, "Forget it, I won't eat any more. Let's go to the Hall of Justice." "Aren't you staying with Chu Yuanlang?" Feng Zhong asked. "There are 2 incense masters watching over him. Your uncertain tongue has too much uncertainty. Who knows when that guy will come?" Du Jie said, "We can't stop doing our main tasks just because of a few possible heavenly demons." Just now, he felt a significant decline in his attributes. In just a moment, it had dropped by at least 1/5. He immediately realized the danger of exposing the keywords. Someone was targeting him. Betrayal was unlikely to be the problem, it must be the maintenance that was being targeted. He had to figure out what had happened. The limitations of betrayal were too high, and it was not easy to grow. The foundation of maintenance must not be lost. He had to find a way to cover up the maintenance, fill in the previous loopholes, and make everyone think that the maintenance was his disguise. Before reaching the Hall of Justice, Du Jie saw Lu Cheng riding back on a horse. The two stopped. Lu Cheng dismounted and quickly came to Du Jie, saying in a hurry, "Gang leader, something happened." "What happened?" Du Jie asked. "Yesterday, the money we gave to the victims was stolen. The person who stole the money was wearing the uniform of the peacekeeping gang. Not only did they steal the money, but they also beat up the victims and threatened them not to speak out. Now it's spreading in Liuyang City that our claim of upholding justice is fake, and that the gang leader is just putting on a show." Remembering Du Jie's strange behavior just now, Feng Zhong looked at him thoughtfully. Damn! Could his keyword really be maintenance? Seeing Du Jie's attention focused on Lu Cheng, Feng Zhong quietly opened his data panel and checked his ranking. He was still 9th, without any progress. He sighed quietly, it was indeed not a maintenance issue. Luckily, he was quick-witted enough to check the rankings first. If it were a maintenance issue, his reputation would have been so severely damaged that his rank would have plummeted to the bottom. It would be impossible for him to still hold the first place. However, even if it wasn't a maintenance issue, it should be related to it. His attributes must have been affected. It must be said that Feng Qi had disguised the real keywords too well. Du Jie had eyes in the back of his head and clearly saw Feng Zhong's small movements, but he didn't take it seriously. After all, everyone has a desire to pry into others' secrets. It's human nature. With this incident, the maintenance issue was covered up, and Feng Zhong would never suspect this side again. Gang leader, it must have been Hanzhou and his gang who did this. Lu Cheng continued, we have to find a way to get rid of them. We can't let them ruin the reputation of the peacekeeping gang. I have an idea, let's tie the old gang leader outside Liuyang City and force them to come out. What nonsense are you talking about? We are the peacekeeping gang, not a criminal gang. Our purpose is to uphold morality, fairness, and justice. It's a shame that you, who were brought up by the old gang leader, would use a dying old man to threaten others. Even if we succeed, how would the world see us? Would they still trust our peacekeeping gang? Du Jie glared at Lu Cheng and scolded, we need to solve the problem uprightly, find the murderer, and re-establish the public's trust in us. That's the right way. Yes, yes, you're right. The old gang leader wasn't severely injured by you, and it wasn't you who threatened others with his fingers. You're noble, you're great. I'm the villain, okay. If I give you any more advice, I'll be your son. Lu Cheng's eye twitched as he complained in his heart, Gang leader, what should we do? The enemy is in the dark, we are in the light. We are short of hands. It's not realistic to investigate the murderer with our current strength. We need to find some helpers. Du Ji turned to look at Feng Zhong. Feng Zhong, write a few invitations. Invite the leaders of the 3 gates and 5 sects stationed here in Liuyang City to discuss matters. Tell them we want to establish a peacekeeping joint control and defense alliance, inviting them to uphold the morality of the martial world and maintain peace with us. Lu Cheng was stunned, looking at Du Ji with a strange expression. This had nothing to do with finding the murderer, right? What the hell? You can't even protect yourself, and you still want others to uphold justice with you? Besides, those are people from the 3 gates and 5 sects. Even the old gang leader didn't dare to do this. The peacekeeping gang, with less than 500 members, why would they listen to you? How big is your face? At this moment, Lu Cheng suddenly regretted joining this damn peacekeeping gang. If he had known that Du Ji was such an eccentric guy, he shouldn't have come back to report. He should have turned around and left, wandering the world. Feng Qi's actions were always unexpected, and Feng Zhong didn't know what he was going to do. He hesitated for a moment and asked, Brother Qi, isn't it too early to provoke the 3 gates and 5 sects at this time? It's not too early. Du Ji smiled, upholding the morality of the martial world is the responsibility and duty of every martial artist. By maintaining a beautiful living environment together, everyone can live a better life. Chapter 44, Frame. Inside Liuyang City. The incident that happened last night spread like wildfire. Most people don't believe that Feng Qi would do such a thing. If he didn't want to give out money, he could have just not given it from the beginning. Why go through the trouble of giving it and then snatching it back? Even if he wanted to snatch it, why did he do it while wearing the clothes of the peacekeeping organization? And after snatching it, he didn't even kill anyone? It's too obvious that he's trying to frame someone. Even a 3-year-old child can see the loopholes in this. But this obvious and crude plan, which everyone can see through, severely undermined the public's confidence in the peacekeeping organization. If he can't even protect himself, how can he protect others? What's the point of receiving money from the peacekeeping organization? Sooner or later, it will be snatched away by others, and he will have to suffer a beating for no reason. Why bother? The Beggars sect, Taishan, and other sects investigated all night but didn't find anyone suspected of being possessed by the heavenly demon within their organizations. After learning about the situation of the peacekeeping organization, they were all waiting to see Feng Qi joke. Upholding justice? Do they really think it's just a game? But they didn't wait for Feng Qi to investigate the culprit. Instead, they received an invitation letter inviting them to join the peacekeeping organization. Ding Wanjia, an elder of the Beggars sect, looked at the invitation letter in his hand, feeling puzzled. What does Feng Qi mean by this? It's obvious that the Iron Palm Gang did it last night. Could it be that he wants to use our strength to deal with the Iron Palm Gang? Maybe that's what he means. A dirty old beggar next to him also saw the contents of the invitation letter and sneered. Feng Qi doesn't have many people he can use. Even if he's powerful, so what? If others deliberately make trouble for him, his peacekeeping organization won't be able to continue. The heavenly demon is nothing special in our world, it must follow our rules. If Feng Qi only has these tricks, then I've underestimated him. Elder Ding said, I always feel that he's not that simple. Elder Ding, you're overthinking. Look at what he did yesterday. If it's not violence, it's throwing money around. His methods are really that simple, like a child who doesn't care about the consequences. According to him, the heavenly demon must act according to its own attributes, which is impossible in the human world. It's too easy to see through. The old beggar said, human hearts are complicated, and a straightforward approach won't get you far. Old Lu, do you think I should go? Elder Ding asked. I think you should. He also invited people from the 3 gates and 5 sects. He shouldn't have the guts to go after everyone. Old Lu said, it's not interesting to just watch the show in Liuyang City. We can also observe up close whether he has been weakened. We know too little about the heavenly demon. Okay, old Lu, let's go together. Elder Ding also agreed with old Lu's point of view and smiled as he put away the invitation letter. Let's go and see what tricks that heavenly demon brat is up to. The same scene also happened in the headquarters of several other sects. The representatives of several sects in Liuyang City contacted each other and confirmed that they had all received the invitation letter. They agreed to go to the peacekeeping organization together. The 3 gates and 5 sects are not on the same level as the Iron Palm Gang. Several remnants of the Iron Palm Gang have already made Feng Qi life difficult. These people firmly believe that no matter how powerful Feng Qi is, he wouldn't provoke so many sects at the same time. After all, they all have the support of a powerful figure. The most up-to-date novellas are published on Fruit Noelo. The Azure Dragon Gang, Blood Blade Sect, Sushan Sect, and Kunlun Sect are too far away from Liuyang City, and their influence does not extend here. To be precise, Liuyang City only has 6 sects, the Beggars Sect, Taishan, Huashan, Yimei, Divine Fist Sect, and Tian Shan Sect. A total of 10 people from the 6 sects sat in the conference hall of the peacekeeping organization, chatting and exchanging their opinions on the heavenly demon. They didn't pay much attention to Feng Qi's invitation. Before long, Du Ji and the others walked in from outside, followed by Lu Cheng. Du Ji and the others had normal expressions, but Lu Cheng's face didn't look too good. It was obvious that he was nervous, but the attention of the representatives of the sects was focused on Du Ji and the others, and no one paid much attention to the insignificant Lu Cheng. Even if they noticed, it didn't matter. A small hall master who had just betrayed his master suddenly realized that his new master couldn't be relied upon, so it was normal for him to be worried. Master Feng Qi, the gang leader of the peacekeeping organization, greets the esteemed seniors. Du Ji smiled and bowed to the people. The esteemed seniors represent the 3 gates and 5 sects. The peacekeeping organization is just starting out, and it should have paid a visit. But as you all know, something happened recently. As the newly appointed leader of a sect, with a shortage of manpower, it has been quite a headache to deal with these matters. Therefore, I had to invite you all here. Please forgive any rudeness. It's no problem. Gao Yang, the Daoist priest of Taishan, waved his hand and said lightly, the peacekeeping organization has taken over the power of the Iron Palm Gang, and Master Feng has become the master of Liuyang City. It is only right for us to come and pay our respects. Thank you for your kind words, Daoist priest. Du Ji returned the bow with his fists and looked at everyone. May I ask for the names of the esteemed seniors? I am Gao Yang from Taishan. The Daoist priest of Taishan said. I am Ding Wanja from the Beggars Sect. The elder of the Beggars Sect said. I am Nai Nong from Huashan. The principal official of Huashan, a middle-aged man, glanced at Du Ji and casually returned the bow. I am He Yuanan from the Divine Fist Sect. The principal official of the Divine Fist Sect was also in his 40s. His gaze was cold, and he didn't give Du Ji a good expression. Their sect leader had a good relationship with Chu Yuan Lang, and among the sects, they had the closest ties with the Iron Palm Gang. Feng Qi had swallowed the Iron Palm Gang at lightning speed, which meant he had provoked the Divine Fist Sect. By directly affecting the interests of the Divine Fist Sect, it was strange if he could get a good expression from them. If it weren't for their fear of not being able to defeat Feng Qi, they would have already made a move to save Chu Yuan Lang. I am Yu Yang from Yimei. The representative of Yimei was a woman, but she was not a nun. She should be a lay disciple. I am Xiaoming Liang from the Tian Shan sect. The representative of the Tian Shan sect was about the same age as the elder of the Beggars sect. He looked to be in his 50s, but his complexion was ruddy, and he had a big belly. He looked more like a businessman than a martial artist. Feng Qi pays his respects to the elders. Du Ji once again bowed, making a full circle salute, his posture very humble. Then, he sat in the main seat and laughed. Elders, I'm sure you all saw what happened yesterday. There are too many villains in the martial world, relying on their martial prowess to oppress the common people, tarnishing the reputation of us martial artists. Although I am a victim of the heavenly demon's body possession, since I came to this world, I am a part of it. Seeing the hardships of the people, I can't help but feel compassion. I have the intention to uphold the righteousness of the martial world, but it's difficult to make progress. As you all saw, just as I made some achievements yesterday, there were petty people who sabotaged it. He looked around at everyone and sighed, the martial world is so vast, it's as difficult as ascending to heaven to uphold justice with one's own power. But seeing the rampant evil forces, I can't swallow this anger. Moreover, there are hundreds of people like me who have been possessed by the heavenly demon, lurking in the dark, ready to cause chaos in the martial world. I can't sleep thinking about it, so I thought of this plan. The martial world belongs to everyone, and the 3 gates and 5 sects are the leaders of the martial world. If we let the evil forces continue to do evil, it will inevitably affect the reputation of us martial practitioners. If we unite and fight against evil, nip the heavenly demon in the bud, we can surely restore peace to the martial world in the shortest time, and let the people praise us when they mention us. Wouldn't that be wonderful? If the Chiao family said these words, we would consider it. Who do you think you are? Just after taking over a small gang, you dare to take the lead in such a thing. Who gave you the courage? Several people laughed when they heard these righteous words from Feng Qi. Gao Yang of the Taishan sect was relatively mild. He glanced at Du Ji and said, "Gang leader Feng, this matter is of great importance. I am just a small principal official of Liuyang City, I can't make the decision. If you are sincere, you can directly go to the sect leader of Taishan. If the sect leader agrees, I will naturally obey." Daoist priest Gao is right. Nainong of the Huashan sect laughed, "Gang leader Feng, you've found the wrong person. If you say the heavenly demon is causing chaos, isn't your position illegitimate, gang leader Feng? I didn't see any other heavenly demons, I only saw you doing evil." He Yuanan of the Divine Fist sect was not so polite. He sneered, "Who here doesn't know that your peacekeeping gang was snatched from gang leader Chu, and the gold and silver you distributed yesterday were the property of the Iron Palm gang? You've killed people and taken their property, which of your deeds is related to justice? It's really funny to hear you talk about upholding the righteousness of the martial world. In my opinion, if we really want to eliminate the heavenly demon, we should start with gang leader Feng." Elder He. Du Ji looked at He Yuanan and sighed, "The reason why I invited you all here to discuss this matter is to save some face for the elders, hoping that you can repent. But you are still stubborn. In that case, I won't save face for Elder He." "What do you mean by stubborn?" He Yuanan frowned, subconsciously thinking that Feng Qi knew about his sheltering Chu Fipeng, and argued. "Elder, what do you think this is?" Du Ji pulled out a bundle from under the table, untied the knot, pointed to the things inside, and asked. "In the council hall." Everyone looked over. Inside the bundle were several wrinkled peacekeeping gang uniforms. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what Feng Qi was going to do. "It's just a few peacekeeping gang uniforms," He Yuanan said. "Indeed, they are peacekeeping gang uniforms." Du Ji looked at him and said slowly, "But these uniforms were found by the peacekeeping gang, the Beggars sect, and the Taishan sect from your Divine Fist sect's base." As soon as he said this, the council hall fell into a strange silence. "It's over." Lu Cheng closed his eyes in pain. Feng Qi is determined to stir up trouble. Nonsense! Several voices sounded at the same time. "When did my Taishan sect ally with you?" Gao Yang of the Taishan sect said. "When did the Beggars sect ally with you?" Elder Ding of the Beggars sect was stunned. He Yuanan was amused and shook his head. "I knew Feng Qi you were shameless, but I didn't expect you to be this shameless. Do you really think we're stupid? Even if you investigated what happened last night, it wouldn't be this fast. No one would believe it. If I say there is, then there is." Du Ji stood up and looked at He Yuanan. "Today, I have to stand up for the wronged people of Liuyang City." With a bang, Feng Zhong closed the door of the council hall. Chapter 45, Call a deer a horse. "Feng Qi, what do you want to do? Do you want to provoke the 3 gates and 5 sects? Outrageous! Criminal!" Gao Yang and the others stood up and questioned Du Ji. Their faces didn't look good. No one expected Feng Qi to be so audacious. Amidst their voices, Wang San's sinister voice sounded behind He Yuanan, "Big brother, I love you, look back at me." Fear struck He Yuanan's heart. It felt as if there was an unknown monster behind him. He instinctively turned around, assuming a defensive posture. Just as he turned around, a gust of wind came from behind. By the time he remembered Feng Qi, it was too late. A sharp pain pierced his chest as a half-bright sword stabbed through. He Yunan's strength receded like a tide, and his clear vision gradually blurred. He struggled to turn his head back and said with difficulty, "Feng Qi, you." Before he could finish his words, his head tilted, and his life had already left him. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. When Gao Yang and the others reacted, He Yunan had already collapsed on the ground, and a pool of blood flowed out from under him. Du Ji stood behind him, holding a blood-stained dagger, resembling a demon. Du Ji glanced at He Yuan beneath him, sighed, and lamented, even with such skills, he learned to do evil. It's not a pity that he died. Gao Yang and the others looked at Du Ji standing there, their faces turning pale, and no one dared to move. It has to be said that Feng Qi's speed just now was too fast. No one was confident that they could withstand his attack. The strength of the heavenly demon would change according to his attributes. It was simply deceiving. No one in Liuyang City believed in his words of upholding justice anymore. Why didn't his skills weaken at all? 2 people from the Divine Fist sect arrived, and He Yuan was still accompanied by an official. He looked at He Yuan lying in a pool of blood, as if he had just come to his senses. His face turned pale, and he pointed at Du Ji, stuttering, "Officer He, Feng Qi, do you dare to kill Officer He? Aren't you afraid of the Divine Fist sect's revenge?" He Yuan impersonated the peacekeeping gang, robbed the people's money, and destroyed the confidence that I, Feng Qi, had painstakingly built for the people. He committed such evil deeds, why wouldn't I dare to kill him? Du Ji turned his head and looked at him. To uphold justice in the martial world, I, Feng Qi, am not afraid of the Divine Fist sect. I believe that the Divine Fist sect is one of the leaders of the righteous sects in the martial world. Master Tong, the master of the Divine Fist sect, will also applaud my actions when he learns that such an evil person has appeared in the section. You're slandering us. The official interrupted him. Everyone knows that Chu Fipeng and the others were the ones who did last night's incident. No more sophistry. Du Ji interrupted him, sneering, what about the peacekeeping gang's clothes that were found in your residence? Don't tell me that the Divine Fist sect intends to merge with the peacekeeping gang. This is clearly you framing us. Does your peacekeeping gang need these clothes? The official trembled with anger. The incident that happened at 4 in the morning, you didn't even leave your door. How could you find the culprit so quickly? Chu Fipeng was indeed hiding in the Divine Fist sect. In the morning, Du Ji heard from Lu Cheng that the master of the Divine Fist sect, Tong Hongan, was on good terms with Chu Yuan Lang. He wondered if Chu Fipeng and the others were hiding in the Divine Fist sect's residence, and he actually guessed it right. But what Du Ji wanted was the effect of upholding justice. The truth didn't really matter to him. He wasn't Conan. Just like how the other party used such a clumsy plan to frame him. In this world, fists determined everything. If he didn't take advantage of his attributes being at their highest point and cut through the mess, he would only gradually fall into a vicious cycle. By then, he would probably be too powerless to do anything. Fight fire with fire? Du Ji wouldn't do such a foolish thing of being led by the enemy. As for the consequences of offending the 3 gates and 5 sects? If he couldn't even pass this current hurdle, what future would there be? Nothing more to say. The official said, you even claimed that the Beggars sect and Taishan sect found these clothes in our residence. Your framing methods are too childish. Just wait for the retaliation from the 6 major sects. Gao Yang and Ding Wanji's faces changed at the same time, cursing the fool. Is that so? Du Ji looked at Gao Yang and Ding Wanji, and the dagger in his palm faintly pointed at their chests. He smiled and asked, Elder Gao, Elder Ding, were these peacekeeping gang's clothes taken from the Divine Fist sect's residence by us? The face of the Divine Fist sect's official changed immediately, and he hurriedly said, 2 officials, there are so many of us. Aren't you afraid of one Feng Qi? Elder Ding, yesterday many people from Liuyang City accused the Beggars sect of stealing and trafficking, committing evil deeds that were no less than the Iron Palm gang. I thought that the Beggars sect is ultimately a member of the Peacekeeping Alliance, so I gave Elder Ding face and wanted him to handle the evildoers within the sect and give the victims justice. Du Ji looked at Ding Wanji, the elder of the Beggars sect, and said, if Elder Ding himself is not righteous and cannot handle these matters well, then I, Feng Qi, will have to do it for the Beggars sect and uphold its reputation. Damn it! When did I become a member of the Peacekeeping Alliance? Looking at Du Ji's eyes that were ready to uphold justice at any moment, Ding Wanji's throat went dry. He glanced at the old beggar beside him, who was already dumbfounded, and regretted coming to see this joke. Now, he had completely turned himself into a joke. Elder Ding! Elder Ding! The Divine Fist sect's official and Du Ji almost spoke at the same time. Elder Ding, Feng Qi first blamed the Divine Fist sect and then slandered the Beggars sect. It's obvious that he wants to divide and conquer us. Gentlemen, let's fight him. The Divine Fist Sect's official anxiously broke out in a cold sweat, desperately seeking an ally. Shut up! Ding Wanzhi looked at Du Ji, his gaze gradually turning cold. He gritted his teeth and said, "What Feng Gang leader said is correct. These clothes were indeed found by us from the Divine Fist Sect's residence. Feng Gang leader is upholding the righteousness of the martial world, while you scoundrels are causing trouble in between. You are truly unworthy of being called human. I, Ding, am ashamed to be associated with you." After speaking, his face turned red, and he couldn't help but close his eyes, not daring to look at the Divine Fist Sect's deputy principal. This time, he had truly lost all face. Elder Ding. The deputy of the Divine Fist Sect felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at Ding Wanzhi, then at Gao Yang, somewhat at a loss. He hadn't expected such an answer. "Do you have anything else to say?" Du Ji chuckled, picking up a piece of clothing from the peacekeeping gang from the ground. He dabbed it on He Yunan's corpse, staining it with blood. "The clothes still bear the blood stains from your assault on the citizens of Liuyang City yesterday. Now we have both the human and material evidence. The evidence is as solid as a mountain. What else do you have to say?" "Damn it!" The council hall once again fell into an eerie silence. Lu Cheng's eyes bulged out in shock. In the morning, when he heard Du Ji's plan, he thought Du Ji was audacious, but he had no idea that Du Ji would be this bold. This was blatantly rubbing the faces of the 3 gates and 5 sects in the dirt. The members of the Taishan sect, including Gao Yang, glared at Feng Qi, their chests heaving with rage. This was too insulting. Before, at least they had made up an excuse, but now they weren't even bothering to cover it up. How could there be such a villain in the world? And yet, this guy kept claiming to maintain peace? But He Yunan's corpse was still lying there, and Du Ji, with a smile in his eyes, seemed to be waiting for them to charge at him. The principal officials hesitated for a long time, but no one dared to confront Feng Qi. At this point, charging at him would be suicide. Looking at Feng Qi's style, once they were dead, he would definitely throw a bucket of dirty water on them. Wang San and Feng Zhong exchanged glances, looking at Du Ji standing in front of them, admiration almost pouring out of their eyes. Doing evil things as if it were the most natural thing in the world, brazenly, and even cloaking it in a beautiful guise. This audacity, this domineering attitude, this shamelessness. If he doesn't succeed, who will? Compared to Feng Qi, they were indeed far behind. However, Feng Qi performance also confirmed for them that his keyword was definitely not maintenance. If maintenance was like Feng Qi, they would eat the dictionary. Du Ji asked with a smile, "Daoist priest Gao, don't you agree?" "Yes." Gao Yang looked at Du Ji, the corners of his eyes twitching violently. He gritted his teeth and squeezed out 2 words. "Do you have anything else to say?" Du Ji turned to the deputy principal of the Divine Fist Sect and asked. "I have nothing to say." Looking around at the familiar strangers, the deputy principal gave up struggling, glaring fiercely at Du Ji. "Feng Qi, your reckless actions will bring retribution. The Divine Fist Sect will not let you go. I was born to maintain peace. For the sake of upholding justice in my heart, I'm not even afraid of death, let alone retribution." Du Ji raised an eyebrow, shook his head at him, and said righteously, "The pure will remain pure, and the impure will remain impure. I spare your life so that you can see how I will cleanse the filthy martial arts world, just like cleansing this Iron Blood gang. I firmly believe that one day, fairness and justice will outweigh fists, and people will no longer worry about being robbed by the strong at night. Practicing martial arts is for strengthening the body, not for the strong to bully the weak." Chapter 46, Get on the bus first, buy the ticket later. Bullying the weak with strength? What do you think you're doing right now? Where is your dignity? Are you still righteous? The entire martial world is not as dirty as you. From beginning to end, you only protect your own interests. Gao Yang and the others were silently mocking in their hearts. Their expressions were like flies stuck in their throats, feeling uncomfortable and disgusted. At this moment, they only agreed with Feng Qi on one thing, that the heavenly demon was a disaster and must be eliminated as soon as possible, including Feng Qi. These heavenly demons are all madmen, none of them have a normal mindset. We need to find a way to expose Feng Qi's true face. Otherwise, if he goes out and harms others with a benevolent face, the martial world will be ruined. Yes. They have to stay alive. They can't just die here without any explanation. Everyone present found the same reason for their cowardice. Congratulations to all of you for joining the Peacekeeping Alliance. Du Ji ignored the ugly expressions on everyone's faces as if they were eating shit. He threw the blood-stained clothes in his hand on the ground and respectfully clasped his fists towards everyone. From today onwards, let us work together to maintain the stability and peace of Liuyang City. Good. The situation is stronger than the individual. Gao Yang forced a smile on his face and responded to Du Ji with clasped fists. Very good. Ding Wanjia of the Beggars sect said, upholding justice is our responsibility as martial artists. In the future, if gang leader Feng gives the order, the Beggars sect in Liuyang City will definitely comply. What gang leader Feng said is true. Ding Yang of the Yimei sect said, although I am a woman, I will also contribute to the people of Liuyang City. The people from the Tian Shan and Huashan sects also praised Feng Qi's proposal, as if they hadn't looked down on the Peacekeeping Alliance just now. The conference hall regained its harmony, except for He Yunan lying dead in a pool of blood, accusing the injustice of the world. Since that's the case, I have a few contracts to join the Peacekeeping Alliance here. I trouble the principal officials to sign and seal them. Du Ji glanced at them and magically took out a stack of white papers from his pocket, smiling. Since yesterday, our Peacekeeping Alliance has officially been established. Later, we will attack the Heavenly Demons base in Liuyang City and eliminate the evildoers who attacked the people and framed the Peacekeeping Gang, including He Yunan. The smiles on Gao Yang and the others' faces froze. The alliance was just established yesterday, and He Yunan was killed by them. Taking advantage of the time difference, they patched up all the loopholes. As long as the people of Liuyang City witnessed the blood-stained clothes of the Peacekeeping Gang and He Yunan's body being brought out from their base, they would no longer be members of the Peacekeeping Alliance. This guy is so cunning, not giving them any way out. In the future, when this matter reaches the Divine Fist sect, how could Tong Hongan possibly believe their explanation? By then, he would come after them, and even the sect might not be able to protect them. Why is this guy's heart so dirty? The vice principal of the Divine Fist sect sneered repeatedly. It serves you right, you bunch of double dealers. You should die together with Feng Qi. Do any of you still have concerns? Du Ji frowned and looked at everyone. Are there any accomplices of He Yunan among you? Fuck. The expressions of Gao Yang and the others changed immediately. In this situation, whether they were accomplices or not, it was up to Feng Qi to decide. If they didn't sign, their bodies would end up just like He Yunan's, being found and beaten to death by the Peacekeeping Alliance in their base. Seeing that everyone was still silent, Du Ji decided to break through one by one. He looked at Ding Wanjia of the Beggars sect. Elder Ding, I feel a strong connection with you. Why don't you set an example? Damn it! Who wants to have a strong connection with you? The color drained from Ding Wanjia's face. Wang San stepped forward at the right moment, and Du Ji's blood-stained dagger faintly aimed at him. All right, I'll sign. Ding Wanjia cursed Feng Qi in his heart as he took a contract from him. Just as he was about to sign it, he suddenly froze. Gang leader Feng, did you make a mistake? There's no writing on this. We're in a hurry, I haven't had time to write it yet. Elder Ding, rest assured, sign first, and I will complete the terms later. Du Ji said as a matter of course. Fuck. Ding Wanjia's heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly had the urge to draw his sword and fight Du Ji to the death. How could there be such shameless person in the world? But when he thought that Feng Qi had easily framed He Yunan as the murderer without any evidence, he could only sigh helplessly. He wrote his name on the blank paper, pressed his handprint, and was about to step back. Don't rush, all 7 need to sign. Du Ji stopped him with a smile. Be prepared for anything. If these agreements are damaged, some things will be difficult to explain. Sign a few more for insurance. Later, these agreements will be posted in public in Liuyang City. Ding Wanjia's expression changed again. He glanced at Du Ji and silently signed his name on all the blank papers. Whether it was 1 copy or 7 copies, it didn't matter to him anymore. After the incident, he would find a way to kill Feng Qi. Black and white would be determined by them. With Ding Wanjia as the breakthrough, Gao Yang and the others also gave up resistance and signed their names on the agreements. Du Ji carefully checked the agreements, looked at the signatures of the people, and put all 7 agreements into his pocket. He nodded in satisfaction. Since you entered the conference hall, Feng Qi knew that all of you are righteous people. With the participation of the principal officials, we have taken another step towards upholding justice in the world. It's a cause for celebration." Saying that, he sat back in the main seat. "There's no time to waste. Let's set off immediately to Liuyang City and eliminate the evildoers of the Divine Fist sect. Every time I think about the money that the people have been robbed of by these thieves and how they are still at large, I can't sleep or sit still." Gao Yang and the others remained silent. "Lu Cheng, take Officer He with you, and go together to suppress the bandits. Cover your faces, don't let others see." Du Ji looked at Lu Cheng and ordered. With every move he made, Feng Qi managed to tie the major forces within Liuyang City to the peacekeeping gang's warship. Lu Cheng admired Feng Qi's ruthless and cunning tactics. Feeling invigorated, he responded loudly, "Yes, gang leader." Du Ji turned his gaze back to Gao Yang and the others, saying, "Rest assured, after we eliminate the Divine Fist sect, the money we obtain will be used to compensate the people. The rest, I will personally send to each of your households." Gao Yang and the others changed their expressions again, waving their hands repeatedly, no need, gang leader Feng, you're too kind. Upholding justice is our duty. If we take the money, it would change the nature of our actions." Are they joking? How could they explain their actions if they were both killing people and dividing money? Daoist priest Gao, you are mistaken. Du Ji smiled at them and said, "Upholding justice is not wrong, but it cannot be sustained by righteousness alone. After all, everyone needs to eat. Working for free in the long run is not sustainable. Over time, our peacekeeping alliance will disband. Therefore, we should take what we should. Only in this way, our peacekeeping alliance will grow. Just like me, if I hadn't inherited the Iron Palm gang from gang leader Chu, how could I have come this far with just passion? Gang leader Feng, the beggars sect has always lived by begging, money is nothing to us. Ding is willing to dedicate selflessly for justice, without any complaints." Ding Wanjie pondered for a moment, learning Feng Qi's way of speaking. He couldn't let himself get tied tighter and tighter on Feng Qi's sinking ship, otherwise, he would never have a chance to escape. "I understand Elder Ding's concerns, afraid of being criticized by the world for taking the money, afraid of being accused of profiteering in the name of justice." Du Ji looked at Ding Wanjie, then at Gao Yang and the others, and smiled, "You don't need to worry about this. The money we get from fighting against the evil forces will be used to maintain the operation of the peacekeeping gang. Every penny will be made public, so that everyone can see where we are spending the money. I believe the public will understand us." Damn it! They even want to make it public. Gao Yang and the others felt despair. They didn't even have time to hide, let alone make it public. They would have no way out then. Damn this Feng Qi! Chapter 47, Gluttony Patterns. Residents of Divine Fist Sect. Chu Fipeng paced restlessly in the room, occasionally glancing towards the direction of Iron Palm Gang. Finally, he couldn't help but approach Feng Zhu and ask, "Brother Zhu, do you think Officer He and the others will encounter any problems? What could possibly go wrong?" Feng Zhu sat in front of a table filled with delicacies, his mouth full of oil. No one in Liuyang City believes that Feng Qi is capable of upholding justice anymore. If his keyword is truly upholding, then his attribute has already dropped to the lowest. Instead of coming to Liuyang City to find the murderer, he brought the principles of the 3 gates and 5 sects under the guise of peacekeeping and joint defense. It's nothing more than a desperate move. A desperate move. Chu Fipeng raised an eyebrow. Hanzhou closed his eyes and rested beside them. Upon hearing this, he glanced at Feng Zhu. Both he and Feng Qi were heavenly demons, but Hanzhou couldn't sense the same calmness and composure from Feng Zhu. Deep down, he felt a faint unease. Feng Qi deceived the Feng family with a set of false theories, making them believe that he could soon unify the martial world. They fully supported him. This time, he brought the principles of the 3 gates and 5 sects over, probably planning to use the same tricks again. However, Officer He is already aware of all his past actions and won't be fooled. Feng Zhu sneered and threw the chicken bone he had finished gnawing on. With a thud, the chicken bone embedded deeply into the wooden door frame. Feng Zhu nodded in satisfaction. But what if his attribute isn't upholding? Chu Fipeng asked. Feng Qi only managed to seize control of Iron Palm Gang by ambushing leader Chu. He commanded you all using despicable methods like threatening the former gang leader. Now, he only has 300 to 500 people under his control. We can easily ruin everything he has done with a single move. If he dares to provoke the principles of the 3 gates and 5 sects at the same time, it means he doesn't want to survive in this world anymore. Feng Zhu spoke confidently. Chu young master, heavenly demons only need their words and actions to match their attributes. We're not fools. Feng Qi's biggest flaw is his arrogance. He always thinks he can control everything. If it weren't for his arrogance, the Feng family wouldn't have fallen to its current state. If Chu young master is still worried, we can completely find another place to hide in advance. What are you saying, brother Zhu? How would Officer He see us if he comes back and sees us leaving? Chu Fipeng said awkwardly. I've said it before. It would be much more flexible to find a place to hide in Liuyang City and carry out our plans. We can leave whenever we want, stay whenever we want, and cause trouble for Feng Qi anytime, anywhere. It was you who insisted on finding allies, and now we can't even leave for the sake of our reputation. Feng Zhu mocked. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he rushed towards the door. Not good, someone's here. Let's go. Who is it? Chu Fipeng was taken aback. Various chaotic noises, the sound of weapons clashing, and shouting could be heard from outside. Ding Wanjia, have you gone mad? How dare you attack Divine Fist sect? Kill them all, don't let a single evildoer escape. Brother 9, old friends meet again. Why didn't you even say hello? Where are you rushing to? My dear darlings, why are you raising your knives against me? Be good, put down your weapons and let your brother taste the flavor of your blood. Feng Qi. Upon hearing Du Ji's terrifying voice, Hanzhou stood up abruptly, annoyed. Feng Zhu, that treacherous bastard. I knew he couldn't be trusted. Fourth young master, Hall Master Yan, let's go. How is that possible? Officer, he would never betray us, Chu Fipeng said. There are members of Beggar's sect outside. Officer, he is probably already dead, Hanzhou said anxiously. Let's go, fourth young master, old Yan. We need to find a way to break through. Miss has gone to seek Master Tong's help. As long as the Green Mountains remain, we won't run out of firewood. Dead? Officer, he is a member of Divine Fist sect. Chu Fipeng's face was filled with shock. Fourth young master, don't worry about that now. We don't have much time left, Hanzhou said, pulling Chu Fipeng's arm and rushing towards the door. But as soon as they stepped outside, their expressions turned even uglier. The courtyard was a scene of slaughter. Divine Fist sect had around 20 people stationed in Liuyang City, aside from Officer He and the deputy principal. The rest were ordinary disciples, with only a few who could match the skill of Iron Palm Gang's incense master. These people, along with the guards from Iron Palm Gang's various halls and a few incense masters, amounted to just over 50. Their opponents were Gao Yang, Ding Wanjia, Nai Nong, and other principals from the 3 gates and 5 sects. Under normal circumstances, even facing a few experts, over 50 people would still have the ability to fight. But now, there was Wang San outside, disturbing the people with his strange and eccentric behavior. Under the siege of these experts, the over 50 people were in a panic, only thinking about escaping. They couldn't even last a few moves against these experts and would be struck down to the ground. Kill Wang San first. Hanzhou accurately assessed the situation and shouted, without killing Wang San, no one can escape. Hanzhou, I like you so much. First, you betrayed me, and now you want to kill me. What did I do wrong? Wang San sneered and looked at Hanzhou. His voice sounded leisurely. A great fear instantly surged in Hanzhou's heart. After experiencing it firsthand, he finally understood why those people were in chaos when Wang San spoke. He suppressed his fear and trembled as he said, Fourth young master, kill Wang San. You are all my loved ones. No one can escape. Wang San chuckled, encompassing everyone with his gaze. Don't. Chu Fipeng retreated in fear. Xiaoming Liang from Tianshan sect glanced at them and used a sword move to envelop them all. He had no choice but to make a move. From beginning to end, Feng Qi had been behind them, playing the role of a supervisor. Everyone knew that even if they signed a peacekeeping joint defense contract, Feng Qi didn't trust them. Surrounding Divine Fist sect was their declaration of war. If anyone didn't act, Feng Qi dagger would send them to meet Officer He. Why did he let it happen again? You all are from the 3 gates and 5 sects, how can you be as foolish as the Feng family? What benefits has he given you? Why does everything go smoothly for him? And that's sickly adorable. Why is he so devoted to helping him? What kind of advanced skills has he developed? A stupidity aura? Looking at the spirited Feng Qi, Feng Zhu's heart bled with jealousy. Comparing the strengths of both sides, he took a deep breath, a smile appearing on his face. Brother Qi, we've known each other for a long time, do I still have a chance to join you? If I hadn't tricked you, you would still have a chance. Du Ji looked at Feng Zhu, shook his head, and said, Brother Zhu, if you hadn't destroyed the justice I painstakingly maintained yesterday, you would still have a chance. Feng Zhu suddenly fell silent, looking at Du Ji desolately. He said, Brother Qi, I am a student of the Civilian Academy, I know you won't trust me anymore. But I don't want to be eliminated so quickly, give me another month, let me enjoy the delicacies of this world a little longer. Brother Qi, don't believe him. Feng Zhong lowered his voice, there are no weaklings in the simulation field. Hearing Feng Zhong's words, Feng Zhu sighed quietly, smirked, and suddenly said, you forced me into this, after swallowing you three, I will ascend from the ground, come out, glutton's mark. The moment he opened his mouth, Du Ji became alert, the flying knife in his hand was already thrown out, with a whoosh, it stuck in Feng Zhu's chest. But Feng Zhu didn't die, black patterns suddenly appeared on his face. After the patterns appeared, they covered his entire body in an instant, as if they were alive. Immediately after, his body quickly swelled, bursting the clothes on his body, turning into a monster over 2 meters tall, with a sheep's face and human body, eyes under the armpits, tiger teeth and human claws. It looked at Du Ji, roared to the sky, leaped up, and pounced on Wang San. Du Ji was the maintainer, he didn't know Feng Zhong's keywords. But from Feng Yunji's mouth, he knew that Wang San's sickly adorable caused inexplicable fear in people, so he had to kill him before Wang San spoke, otherwise he wouldn't have any chance. Chapter 48, The Death of Gluttony. Glutton? Feng Zhu suddenly turned into a monster, which startled Du Ji. What the hell is this? Advanced skills can actually create a divine beast? Almost everyone in the courtyard stopped their actions, regardless of whether they were afraid of the fear of beauty or not. They all looked at the glutton that appeared, showing a horrified expression. This time, there was no need for any proof. Everyone believed that Feng Qi and the others were indeed heavenly demons. When did humans also turn into monsters? As soon as he saw the glutton, Wang San turned around and ran, like a gust of wind, he drilled into the crowd. The glutton followed closely behind. Ranked second in the simulation field, Wang San's attributes were not low, and he ran like a gust of wind. However, after transforming into the glutton, Feng Zhu's speed was only slightly faster than Wang San's. Moreover, unlike Wang San who avoided the crowd, he directly charged through. Anyone he bumped into had their tendons broken and bones shattered, as if he was a real ferocious beast, the glutton. In the blink of an eye, he pounced behind Wang San, opened his big mouth, and bit towards his head. Seeing that Wang San was in danger, Du Ji also reacted and stabbed the glutton's buttocks with his long sword. Puff! In an instant, Du Ji was right behind the glutton, and the long sword, over a meter long, penetrated into the glutton's valley. Everyone who saw this scene couldn't help but shudder. Du Ji was also helpless. It's not that he didn't want to stab other places, but the glutton was different from humans. Its back was covered in scales, and this was its only weakness. His combat talent guided him to naturally attack this flaw. Ying! The glutton raised its head and let out a cry like a baby, giving up on Wang San who was about to be bitten and turned around to swipe its claws at Du Ji. Du Ji quickly retreated, pulling out the sword that had pierced its valley. Ying! Another cry. The glutton completely forgot about its previous prey, its eyes spewing fire as it pounced towards Du Ji, clawing and biting. Behind him, blood dripped down, leaving a trail. Du Ji dodged several times, seized the opportunity, and swept his sword towards its neck. With a loud noise, sparks flew, and the long sword created a gap, but the glutton was unharmed. Being hit by the long sword, the glutton was initially panicked, but then it revealed a pleased expression. It roared and slapped its paw towards Du Ji. Du Ji dodged, wanting to go around to its back and continue attacking its weak point. However, the glutton refused to let him, following Du Ji in circles at the fastest speed, always keeping its head facing Du Ji. After transforming into the glutton, Feng Zhu could almost keep up with Du Ji's speed. One person and one beast unexpectedly circled around the courtyard twice. Seeing that he couldn't break through the glutton's defense, Du Ji couldn't help but shout, "Wang San!" Wang San snapped back to his senses, touched his own head, and quickly said, "Glutton, my favorite glutton, didn't you want to eat me? Come on, I'll let you eat. You were just chasing after me, why are you circling with someone else now?" The fear of beauty can affect any creature. As soon as Wang San spoke, the glutton suddenly shivered and abandoned Du Ji, turning around and rushing towards the outside of the courtyard. The instinct of a ferocious beast made it want to escape from the monster that frightened it. Stab! Once it turned around, it no longer had a chance in front of Du Ji. Puff! The long sword hit its heart again. This time, because of the fear of beauty, even if the glutton felt pain, it didn't dare to turn back and fight Du Ji. It screamed in pain while running forward. Du Ji closely followed behind, stabbing again and again. Seeing the glutton fleeing, Wang San quickly chased after it. He had to make sure he was present. Otherwise, the fear of beauty would lose its effect. Seeing that both of them were chasing after them, Feng Zhong, who was left alone, raised his long sword without hesitation and followed. Although his attributes had improved, he had too little experience in controlling major events. Even if he was ranked 9th in the simulation field, he was not a match for these martial artists. Moreover, he didn't have any attacking skills. If the few guys coerced by Feng Qi turned against him, he would be the first one to be killed. A gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall. Since his identity and keywords were exposed, he only had one way left, which was to cling to Du Ji's thick thigh. In the blink of an eye, the three men and the beast rushed out of the courtyard and onto the street. The remaining group of people regained their senses without Wang San suppressing them. The sudden appearance of the ferocious beast overturned everyone's understanding of the world. Hanzhou looked at Gao Yang, hesitated for a moment, and said, "Daoist priest Gao, let us go, what do you think? Don't run away, you've joined Feng Qi, right?" Gao Yang glanced at Hanzhou and the others, suddenly lost interest, put away his long sword, and advised, "You are not his opponents. Going against him is a dead end. Surrendering might still give you a way out." With the glutton appearing, the world has truly changed. After speaking, Gao Yang no longer paid attention to Hanzhou and the others. He jumped onto the courtyard wall and looked outside. Compared to the people of the Iron Palm Gang, he was more concerned about the fate of the ferocious beast, the glutton. Ding Wanjie, Nai Nong and Xiaoming Liang followed suit and jumped onto the wall. Hanzhou and the others looked at each other and surprisingly didn't take the opportunity to escape. The glutton rampaged, and the people on the street shouted and dodged. Du Ji stabbed it from behind, again and again. Such a tough guy, if he let it go, he wouldn't be able to sleep peacefully. Glutton screamed and bled all the way. Wang San trailed far behind them, shouting over Glutton's screams, "You disgusting beast, do you enjoy being stabbed by his sword, in front of so many people, screaming so wantonly?" MMP. Du Ji, who was chasing Glutton, was exasperated. "You pervert, can't you say anything nice?" Watching the bizarre group rush past, the onlookers were astounded, and the whole street fell silent. Ying Chun Tower. A petite maid stood on the second floor, watching the pitiful glutton fleeing on the street and the ferocious Feng Qi through the window. She subconsciously covered her buttocks, swallowed, and suddenly decided not to compete for the ranking in the simulation field. Staying in the simulation field until the end was actually quite nice. No, she should move to a city without Feng Qi. The system wouldn't create such a brutal attack skill. Feng Qi keywords must be something like sleazy and brutal. Even with these keywords, to derive such an evil skill, he must have done something similar. She absolutely couldn't stay in the same city as this pervert. The commotion only lasted for 2 minutes. Having been severely injured, the fleeing glutton suddenly shrank and gradually returned to Feng Zhu's appearance. Feng Zhu's clothes had burst when he transformed into glutton. His clean body was covered in black glutton patterns, blood was oozing out from behind, and his steps were faltering. Du Ji stopped the chase. He had no problem attacking glutton's weak point, but stabbing a man's anus with a long sword on the street seemed a bit inhumane. Due to inertia, he had forgotten that he could stab other places from behind. When the glutton patterns faded and disappeared from Feng Zhu's body, he finally couldn't hold on and fell to the ground with a thud. Du Ji watched the barely breathing Feng Zhu with his sword at the ready, not daring to approach, fearing that he might unleash some big move. But he was overthinking. Feng Zhu just struggled to put his hand behind him, touched it, then looked at Du Ji, his eyes full of hatred, and hysterically said, Feng Qi, we are irreconcilable, don't let me know who you are in reality. So what if you know, dare you tell others how you died in reality? Du Ji mocked habitually. Feng Zhu's voice stopped abruptly, he pointed at Du Ji, you. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurted out from Feng Zhu's mouth. He convulsed a few times, lay on the ground with his eyes wide open, motionless. His face was frozen in a mix of embarrassment, anger, unwillingness, resentment, relief, and more. Du Ji was stunned, looking at Feng Zhu's face, not sure if he was angered to death or died of embarrassment. However, the moment Feng Zhu died, Du Ji could clearly feel his attributes soaring. He didn't know the rules of the simulation field, and wasn't sure if his attributes increased because he stabbed Glutton many times, protecting the people of Liuyang City, or because he killed a player, and it was a reward from the simulation field. But Du Ji guessed that it was mostly the latter. In Battle Royale games, you usually get to loot after killing an enemy. It's normal to get some rewards in the simulation field since you can't loot. Otherwise, there would be a lack of competitive motivation. Looking at the dead Feng Qi in front of him, even though he knew he was just eliminated, Du Ji still felt a sense of loss, as if he had really taken a life. This feeling was completely different from killing NPCs in the simulation field. He pursed his lips, wondering why the simulation field was so realistic. Eliminating opponents in this way, aren't they afraid that the players will have psychological problems? What kind of world is it outside? At the moment of Du Ji's sentiment, Wang San caught up. He looked at the dead Feng Zhu and cautiously asked, Brother Qi, is he dead? Yep. Du Ji nodded. Wang San didn't have so many sentiments, he sighed in relief, looking relieved, damn, that was too close. How could there be such an outrageous advanced skill as transforming into Glutton? How did this one trigger it? We almost got killed by him. Indeed. Advanced skills were random. Skills like Glutton's pattern were probably rare. Du Ji glanced at Wang San and didn't say anything. Feng Zhong also stood beside them, looking at the dead Feng Zhu, shaking his head, and analyzing, it's a one-time thing, right? The duration of transforming into Glutton should be related to his attributes. The higher the attributes, the stronger the Glutton he becomes. Otherwise, Glutton wouldn't be just 2 meters tall. This guy is just unlucky. Otherwise, if he had survived until the end, and his attributes had grown, and then suddenly transformed, he might have wiped out everyone. Yet, he's really unlucky. After he goes out, he probably won't dare to tell others how he died in the simulation field. Wang San glanced at the blood-stained longsword in Du Ji's hand and quietly moved to the side. Chapter 49, Great Kindness Seems Heartless. He came, but why did you follow? Du Ji looked at Feng Zhong and asked, I set up such a big trap, aren't you worried about letting those people escape and ruining my plan? Brother Qi single-handedly killed Glutton, his reputation is well known, they dare to run is strange. Feng Zhong accompanied with a smile. Do you really think so? Du Ji looked at him and asked with a smile. Well, I'm a coward, I'm afraid they will kill me while they're running amok. Feng Zhong scratched his head and said with a hint of embarrassment. Useless. Wang San gave him a disdainful look. You don't understand anything. Those people ran away, and I just need to write a few letters to deceive them and bring them back. If I die, it will be the biggest loss for our team, okay? Feng Zhong glared back at him. Again and again, Brother Qi scares them a few more times, and they will be completely devoted. Du Ji glanced at him and remained silent. Feng Zhong was speaking the truth. At present, the cooperation between the three of them was still relatively tacit. This time, it was Feng Zhu who turned into Glutton. There were still hundreds of participants in the simulation field, and who knows what kind of abnormal advanced skills they possessed. Moreover, the further they went, the harder it was to find opponents they could trust. If any one of them died, it would be detrimental to their future development. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Glutton transformed into a human, and the streets quickly descended into chaos. People pointed and whispered at Feng Zhu lying on the ground, discussing and worrying about the future. A living monster had appeared in Liuyang City, which had never happened before. Coupled with what Feng Qi had said about the heavenly demon, they couldn't help but be afraid. Glutton's appearance even offset the remaining goodwill they had towards Feng Qi. After all, Feng Qi was also a heavenly demon. Different races have different hearts. Taking in the discussions of the crowd and looking at the lifeless Fengju, Du Ji sighed inwardly. He couldn't let his old friend die without any meaning. So, Du Ji leaped up and jumped onto a nearby platform. He cleared his throat and said, "Fellow villagers, many of you saw me yesterday, but there are still many who don't know who I am. Today, I am here to solemnly introduce myself again. My name is Feng Qi, the leader of the peacekeeping gang. My lifelong belief is to uphold justice and peace in this world." He paused and looked at the still chaotic street, continuing, "I know that some heartbreaking things happened last night, which shook everyone's confidence in the peacekeeping gang. It's not your fault, it's because I didn't do my job well. Here, I apologize to everyone. Today, I came to Liuyang City to deal with the events of yesterday and give everyone an explanation. The person who transformed into glutton just now is called Fengju, a heavenly demon. It was under his influence that the Divine Fist sect attacked you last night, intending to blame the peacekeeping gang." Buzz. The discussions rose again. Du Ji raised his hand to silence them and sighed, "I know that hearing such news suddenly is bound to shock everyone. After all, the Divine Fist sect is one of the leaders of the martial world. But in a big forest, there are all kinds of birds. He Yunan, the principal official of the Divine Fist sect stationed in Liuyang City, has done many evil deeds in secret. When a rabbit dies, the fox grieves. The Iron Palm gang's encounter made him restless, fearing that one day the peacekeeping gang would come to settle the score. So, under the influence of the heavenly demon, he sent people to impersonate the peacekeeping gang and attack the people at night, intending to destroy everyone's trust in the peacekeeping gang from the root. If the peacekeeping gang dissolves, he can continue to oppress the righteous without worry. Glutton is indeed terrifying, but monsters can be killed. They have weaknesses, and once you find their weaknesses, you can easily kill them. But what about evil people? They look exactly like you, living among you, and will do everything possible to oppress you, eat your flesh, drink your blood, sleep with your wives. 1 day, 2 days, 1 year, 2 years, your children, your grandchildren, generations to come will all be oppressed by them." Du Ji's words were full of infectious power, and people's attention gradually shifted away from glutton and fell into contemplation. Everyone's gaze unknowingly focused on Feng Qi, forgetting his demonic origin. Evildoers are more fierce than monsters. And, you have no way to deal with them. Du Ji's face showed a mix of sadness and anger, his voice gradually becoming louder. He clenched his fist and waved it forcefully. "Compared to those evildoers, you have no power, you are weak and easily bullied. But now it's different, the peacekeeping gang is here, I can be your spokesperson. I am different from them, I am a heavenly demon, and I can only grow by protecting you. The more stable your lives are, the stronger I become. From the root, I cannot harm you. We are mutually beneficial, and you never have to worry that I will abandon you." Indeed, compared to the Divine Fist sect, the current peacekeeping gang is also weak, but a spark can start a prairie fire. I will not give up my belief and principles of upholding justice just because the enemy is strong. Since ancient times, evil cannot defeat righteousness. I have always believed that as long as you have a heart that upholds justice, you will move more righteous people. You may not know, last night, I visited the Beggars sect, Taishan sect, Huashan sect, Yimei sect, and Tianshan sect in Liuyang City, and sincerely invited them to join forces with the peacekeeping gang to uphold justice. Fortunately, the principals of these sects understand the righteousness and immediately agreed to join our peacekeeping alliance and protect Liuyang City together with us. After the evil deeds of the Divine Fist sect, the peacekeeping alliance immediately identified the culprits. Just now, He Yunan, the principal of the Divine Fist sect, has been executed, and the instigator, the heavenly demon Glutton, has been killed right under your noses. When you were suffering and in trouble, I solved your problems as quickly as I could. I've put so much effort into this, don't I deserve your trust?" As he spoke, Du Ji raised his long sword high, thought for a moment, then lifted it to the side, a little further from his head. He declared loudly, "Today, in front of all the people of Liuyang City, I, Feng Qi, swear with this sword that slayed the beast, I will devote my life to maintaining peace and justice. This sword that can slay the glutton today, can eliminate all the evil in the world tomorrow, kill all the heavenly demons in the chaotic world, and create a bright universe." He paused, looked at the stirred-up crowd, smiled slightly, revealing a warm smile. Of course, actions speak louder than words. No matter how beautiful the words are, they are useless. Just watch my actions. Later, please tell each other, notify the victims from last night, and those who were injured by the glutton on the street. After I clean up the remnants of the Divine Fist sect, I will give everyone a reasonable compensation. Having said that, without waiting for the crowd to respond, Du Ji jumped off the stage, greeted the two law enforcement officers, and returned to the Divine Fist sect's base through the crowd. Just as Feng Zhong had guessed, neither the Divine Fist sect nor the Iron Palm gang had left. Feng Zhu, who suddenly turned into a glutton, changed their understanding of the world. Everyone was lost about the future, not knowing where to go. The glutton is a monster, isn't Feng Qi, who can slay the glutton, also a monster? Feng Qi is also a heavenly demon, can a mortal body win against a heavenly demon? What's the point of dying at the hands of a heavenly demon? If they were killed by Feng Qi, would the Divine Fist sect really avenge them? In the end, they were just the bottom of the society struggling to survive. Seeing Du Ji return, everyone in the yard instinctively took a step back, fearing that he would suddenly explode. The scene of Feng Qi chasing the glutton still lingered in their eyes. That terrifying speed, coupled with Wang San's restraint, no one was his match. Don't be afraid. Du Ji looked around at the people in the yard and smiled, I have principles in doing things, I only punish the main culprits. Now that He Yuanan is dead, and the glutton is also dead. Killing you is meaningless, it's just creating karma. I just want to ask you one question, are you willing to join the peacekeeping gang, and fight for peace and justice from now on, to make life more meaningful? Feng gang leader, can we join? Someone from the Divine Fist sect asked. Of course, the peacekeeping gang welcomes all who abandon evil and do good. Du Ji smiled and looked at Hanzhou and others, you are the same, I know what you did yesterday, but you were deceived by Feng Zhu, it's understandable. Besides, He Yuanan of the Divine Fist sect has taken the blame, the old gang leader is waiting for you to reunite in the peacekeeping gang, we can live in peace and work towards a common goal, why do you insist on opposing me? Do you have to fight me to the death, and end up being nailed to the pillar of shame, to feel better? You took our property, beat our father, and now you want us to live in peace with you? Hanzhou and others remained silent, occasionally glancing at Wang San, they would shiver, fearing that the terror would continue to affect those who were targeted by Wang San. Everyone present knew that Feng Qi's grandiose words were all false, framing, intimidation, threats, good at using all kinds of despicable means were his true face. But at this moment, Feng Qi had already paved the way for them, had given them enough face, it's time to step down. Better to live shamefully than die honorably. We are willing to join the peacekeeping gang, and serve the gang leader. The people from the Divine Fist sect began to speak one after another. Not for me, but for justice. Du Ji looked at the crowd and corrected, he looked at Hanzhou and others again, what about you? Are you still waiting for the reinforcements that Chu Muqian will bring? Feng Qi, how is my father? Chu Fipeng asked with a trembling voice. He's seriously injured, the doctor said he might need to rest for 2 years. Du Ji glanced at him and said, but if you continue to make trouble, I can't guarantee anything. Fourth young master, the doctor said, the patient can't stand the torment. Chu Fipeng's eyes widened suddenly, he hurriedly said, don't touch my father, we will join the peacekeeping gang. Chapter 50, Internal Troubles and External Threats. The people of Liuyang City were skeptical of Du Ji's words about the peacekeeping alliance, but when the body of He Yuanan from the Divine Fist sect was hung up and Gao Yang and others stood beside Feng Qi with smiles on their faces, promising to jointly maintain the security of Liuyang City, everyone believed. It should be noted that these people were already the largest forces in Liuyang City. And Feng Qi, in just one night, convinced them to join the peacekeeping alliance, proving to everyone not only his intention to protect Liuyang City but also his strength to do so. Just as Du Ji had expected, some things didn't require evidence. All they wanted was a satisfactory result. Especially when Du Ji brought out baskets of gold and silver, compensating the victims double, and promising that compensation would double again if similar incidents occurred in the future, all the wariness towards him suddenly disappeared. What heavenly demon? The heavenly demon referred to someone else. Feng Qi was their heavenly demon, their lord. There was nothing that money couldn't buy. On that day, the bulletin board in Liuyang City posted the signed contract of the Peacekeeping Alliance and announced the responsibilities and obligations of the Peacekeeping Alliance to everyone. The 5 major sects formed patrol teams, patrolling the city day and night, responsible for resolving any sudden incidents. In cases of injustice and unfairness, one could seek help from any organization within the peacekeeping alliance nearby. If not dealt with in a timely manner, one could directly appeal to the peacekeeping gang, and they would send someone to resolve the issue and deal with any negligence of the alliance members. In the process of upholding justice, all confiscated money, apart from being used to compensate the victims, would be partially used by the peacekeeping gang to cover their normal expenses. However, all financial expenditures would be regularly disclosed to the public. The peacekeeping gang regularly recruited young people with aspirations from the public, inviting them to join the gang, uphold justice together, and provide food and accommodation while teaching them basic martial arts. One by one, the rules and regulations were listed. The peacekeeping gang quickly replaced the official government in the hearts of the people of Liuyang City. And with the peacekeeping alliance, there were no more incidents of attacking the people at night. The faces of every citizen in Liuyang City were filled with smiles. They spoke of the peacekeeping gang and Feng Qi, and the scene was thriving. Feng Qi power and attributes skyrocketed. After Chu Fipeng and the others were incorporated, no one intercepted Chu Fibao, Li Chao, Lu Yuexiang, and other hall masters who were outside the city. On the day they rushed back, they were captured and persuaded by Chu Yuanlang to join the peacekeeping gang in a logical and natural manner. They began to assist in the handover of various industries from the former Iron Palm gang to the peacekeeping gang. After the Feng family members were rescued, Feng Shiren tried to exchange their previous relationship for power within the peacekeeping gang. However, Feng Qi rebuked them with the argument of upholding justice, making them start from the bottom and cutting off their thoughts of taking shortcuts. Looking at Feng Qi, who ruled Liuyang City with an iron fist, Feng Qi finally understood that the roles of master and servant had reversed. The Feng family members could no longer climb up to Feng Qi level. Moreover, what Feng Qi said was true. Relying on the heavenly demon could indeed strengthen a family. Unfortunately, the Feng family did not have that fate. Liuyang City was full of vitality and had a completely new look, but the atmosphere within the peacekeeping gang was gloomy. Lu Cheng, Gao Yang, and other middle-level cadres hardly had any smiles on their faces. Gang leader, if Chu Muqian has convinced Master Tong, they should be back the day after tomorrow. Shouldn't we be prepared in advance? Master Tong is one of the 7 top experts in the world. Lu Cheng paused for a moment. Of course, with the gang leader's martial arts, there is no need to fear Tong Shihong. But the Divine Fist sect has countless experts. If they are determined to target the peacekeeping gang, with our skills, we may not be able to handle it. We have too few experts in the peacekeeping gang, and Chu Fipeng and the others may not be truly loyal. He glanced at Wang San beside Du Ji and said, even if they are truly loyal, as long as Mr. Wang is present, they cannot exert their corresponding combat power. It's not just the Divine Fist sect we need to worry about, but also the sects behind us. Ding Wanjie said with a bitter smile. After the incident in Liuyang City spreads, the few of us may be treated as traitors by the sects. No sect allows such things to happen. This is undermining their foundation. Yes. We can't suppress the incident in Liuyang City at all. Nai Nong said, the day before yesterday, several of my subordinates escaped from Liuyang City. They probably went to inform the sects. Perhaps in a few days, the main sect will send people to wipe us out. It's the same on my side. Gao Yang frowned. Gang leader, the 3 gates, 5 sects, and 2 major gangs, a total of 11 top sects. The peacekeeping gang has offended 6 of them and angered half of the martial world. Even the martial saint, Xiao He, didn't dare to be so reckless. Gao Yang and the others were bound to the peacekeeping gang's worship by Du Ji's series of actions. They wanted to get off but didn't dare to run. Thinking of the enemies they would face next, they were all worried to death, so much so that they couldn't even cry. So, do you regret joining the peacekeeping coalition? Du Ji looked around at them and asked with a smile. What did he mean by regret? Did you give us any choice? It was clearly you, the villain, who forcibly tied us to the peacekeeping gang, making it sound like we willingly joined? If time could be turned back, I should have run back to my sect the moment I saw that invitation letter, without even seeing your face. Everyone glanced at Du Ji, wanting to refute but not daring to. They all lowered their heads, using silence as a form of resistance. Du Ji shook his head and asked, how do you think my skills compare to those top experts? Still, no one spoke. Daoist priest Gao, you speak. Du Ji called out. Comparable, if not better. Gao Yang glanced at Du Ji. In just a few days, Du Ji's speed had increased rapidly. When practicing martial arts, he could barely see Du Ji's techniques. What about with Wang San suppressing them? Du Ji asked again. We would definitely win. Gao Yang said. Then what are you afraid of? Du Ji asked. But a few experts can't support a sect. Nai Nong couldn't help but say, Hall Master Wang's supernatural power is indeed strange, but the incident in Liuyang City has already spread. If they make a move, they will definitely target Wang San first. I'm not afraid of them. Wang San had adopted a new way of cultivation. He always carried a box filled with ice cubes, chilling several hands or hearts of unknown origin. He would occasionally flaunt them in crowded places, showing off his sickly adorable reputation. If it were just him, he would have been beaten to death long ago. But on the peacekeeping gang's territory, under the name of the peacekeeping law protector, he did these things without any fear of harm. Now, he still maintained the second rank in the simulation field. This was something he didn't dare to think about when he first got the keywords. Now, he had decided to follow Feng Qi wholeheartedly. You guys are just too timid. He who wins the hearts of the people wins the world. We are doing the right thing, what are you afraid of? Du Ji shook his head, I've thought of everything you've thought of. In fact, before you came, I had already sent investigation invitations to all the major sects, explaining the harm of the heavenly demon, inviting them to investigate the heavenly demons everywhere and nip the unrest in the bud. With Glutton as a witness, as long as they understand the greater good, they won't make things difficult for us. Seeing everyone hesitating to speak, Du Ji smiled and continued, I know what you're worried about. I've also explained your situation. You've only joined the peacekeeping coalition, not the peacekeeping gang. Essentially, you're still members of your original sects. Betrayal and such are all nonsense. Are you serious? Are you treating the sect leaders like children? Gao Yang and the others couldn't believe it and widened their eyes. This was pure provocation. You're just hoping we'll die, aren't you? I know, the status of the peacekeeping gang is not high enough, and what I say may not attract their attention. Du Ji looked at Lu Cheng and said seriously, didn't Chu Muqian invite the old sect leader Tong Shihong? I will find a way to persuade him to join the peacekeeping gang. We can't let the maintenance of justice be difficult. The peacekeeping gang really needs some old-school experts to hold the fort. Phew! Hearing Du Ji's words, everyone present breathed a sigh of relief and temporarily put their hearts at ease. After all, everyone present had experienced Du Ji's persuasion method firsthand. It should be a sure thing that Tong Shihong would join the peacekeeping gang.